This broadcast is brought to you by Logitech G, Motorsport Australia, Play Seat, The Gamesman, OG Gear, SimSpeed TV, Speed Cafe, and the Australian Sim Racing Group.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
Six rounds down, and it means we are now 6 rounds to go. And it also is coming up quick on endurance season here in the 2024 edition of Logitech G Pro Invitational, but we have ourselves one more solo driver race to get through tonight here at the Temple of Speed before we can start talking about endurance racing in these V8 touring cars. And Monza will be that place where we do the racing action here tonight for round number 7 in 2024. My name is Danny Ammon, joining the commentary team once again here for tonight, filling in for Scott Rankin. Unfortunately, not able to be here with us this evening, but joining Stephen Sandman Clark here in the commentary box with Jay Kennedy on production as always. And Sandman, starting to see a little bit now, so I can see on the side of my screen in practice as drivers are working things out here with some practice qualifying runs. But it's going to be a fast track. Qualifying is going to be super important, but also figuring out where drivers are going to get themselves in line for qualifying tonight. And now getting into the busy half of the season with halfway there, halfway to go.
Absolutely, and how quick is that stuck? And welcome, Dan. Good to have you along, buddy, and welcome to anyone who's tuning in wherever you are around Australia, around the world. Absolutely cracking race tonight at Monza. I mean, we're looking at people that are going to be wanting drafting buddies, because that thing is crucial around here. There's so many fast straights as far as opportunities to make up that free time behind someone. So if you can have a drafting buddy, a teammate, someone that you work well with, it can really benefit you, especially in qualifying, which is coming up not too far away.
Yeah, expect obviously our bigger teams tonight to probably be putting drivers a little bit further up the order than they might be usually seen in other circuits where getting clean air is more important. So that will be one to watch out for. And as you said, yeah, for those who maybe don't have strong alliances or teammates by numbers here tonight, it's going to be probably a little rough for them once we get underway. But we're up in the north of Italy, just shy of Milan and the Alps there. But to home of the Italian Grand Prix and so much racing history over the years, still having that classic oval there as well. But of course, Grand Prix configuration, we skip completely past that tonight and focus on the 5.8 kilometers of speed that has been only very lightly refined over the years here, Sandman.
Yeah, terrific racetrack, and it's always really turned it on, no matter what category we're racing. But we're lucky to have our supercar series here. Great racetrack, as everyone will be well aware, and you see it on the Formula One series. It's got so much history, and yeah, it'd be nice to see it on the banks of that part of the racetrack one day, but not today. We're on the Grand Prix circuit, and what a show it's going to be tonight.
11 turns in this clockwise configuration. Of course, the Rettifilio chicane, the Variante della Roggia, of course, our two big braking positions there at the start of lap, then maintaining the momentum up through to Lesmos, try and get settled over the curves at Ascari, and then one final long corner there with the curve of Parabolica at the final part of the lap before they power on down. And we're looking forward to seeing some high speeds once they cross that start-finish line once again on the front stretch of this circuit. Currently in the closing minutes of practice, so it'll be not too long before we get qualifying underway here tonight. But speaking of what to see in this race, it'll be 48 laps around this place, and multiply that out by the track length, we're looking at just over 278 kilometers of racing coming our way. As always, 2 compulsory pit stops will be required anytime, well, not anytime, but if we don't get a safety car on lap 1 after the end of lap 2 until the end of the penultimate lap. But in saying that, yeah, we'll have to see how drivers choose to play out. Looking at some fuel numbers I was able to get beforehand real quick, Sandman, we're looking at needing around 205 to 215 litres of fuel from start to finish tonight. So they will only need about 1 full tank's worth over the course, and you can split it over the course of 2 stops as well. So that's plenty of strategic options, and that will be one to watch out for. As we also take a note here of the championship standings, which after some of the craziness of the opening round, starting to stabilise, but it is tight at the top.
Yeah, there's been some shuffling over the last couple of weeks. It's actually been quite interesting just to see how much it's fluctuated, with some names up the top, and then, I guess we come to expect with the names of Jared Philsell and Madison Down always at the top, but they haven't had it all their way this year, and that's actually been good. It's tough for them as far as the way their season's playing out, but for us as spectators and seeing that board jumbled up, I think it's something really good. But they're now starting to put their foot down as far as, we're approaching the halfway mark of the season, and then we've got Enduros coming up. That could impact the points championship as well. So really interesting to see how it changes tonight, but especially over the next couple of weeks with Enduros.
Yeah, the 3 endurance races which come up after this will be obviously a huge opportunity to make or break a season here tonight. And for those drivers there that we saw in the top 10 list, this will be also critical for stabilising the situation for the guys at the very front. And for those in the back half of the 10, maybe go for a slightly stronger position than it currently is. So you can see there now less than 5 minutes left in practice as the drivers definitely getting into some bunches here and some qualifying simulations of sorts happening. But whilst they're out there, it is a very, very hot Monza, virtually speaking today. 30 degrees Celsius air temperature. There's not a lot left in terms of how hot you can go there. And as a result, that asphalt temperature of over 50 degrees Celsius is going to be a tyre fryer, to say the least.
Absolutely. The teams will be all over that, and it'll be raising a few eyebrows because ideally everyone wants, a little bit of a cooler track temperature, but here's what it is, and it's the same for everyone. And as we see a few of these guys just getting a bit of line formation here, it is a bit of a fine art to go fast and draft along at the same time. You want to give yourself that little bit of a gap, but you don't want to get too close where the car in front, is a bit of a cork in the...
You can work with who's going to work well for you tonight in qualifying if you don't have a whole bunch of teammates. As we said, the teams that have got strong numbers here tonight. So we're saying that, doing okay by Lobs Esports, Synergy Sim Racing, for example, might be able to get a couple of drivers up there, but mainly also, Trans Tasman and Evolution Racing Team. I also would say watch out for them to have a couple of strong results here once again as well, of course. They're probably the big 4 on numbers, I would suggest. But then again, we might have a couple of drivers who can shake it up if they get the right drafting partners out there.
And it's funny how that can change too. You always have that game plan in the back of your mind that you're going to team up with your teammates if you're lucky enough to have a few of them in and around you. But sometimes it works out that you just start racing well with someone as the race goes on. They trust you, you trust them. And it's funny how you can work together with other people, and it could be so left field that you don't expect it. But people out there are opportunistic and they want to make the most of the advantage that they can get. So if it means working with someone else, ideally you want to work with a teammate, but you'll grab anything you can, especially around this place.
Yep, every little bit will count here tonight. Qualifying certainly will be important in the races, of course. Every advantage you can grab here tonight, whether it's on strategy, whether it's on track position, it'll all be critical as we get towards the end of the race. And then, of course, the race to the flag. So not long left in this one here, and then almost time to go. 20-minute session tonight, speaking of which for qualifying, so should give these drivers a good couple of chances. Currently lapping here in practice, best time of a 1 minute 47.2 is the current benchmark to beat from Jared Filsell. And you can see here, this is 1, 2, 3, there's 5 going past our screen. I'd say it's probably at least 9 or 10 drivers all going in a row there, just to give you an example. And look at them immediately fan out as well to break away and not give any advantage down the start finish straight.
And it's funny, you say it's a 20-minute quali, but, at the end of the day, that goes past so quick because obviously these guys will be out there, they'll have their out lap, they'll do their hot lap, and if everything goes right, they'll dart back into the pit lane. But if you make a mistake, have a little bit of a whoopsie, you might decide to push on again. But if you decide to abort, that's when the pressure starts to mount because it's quick for that clock to start ticking away. And although it sounds like you got plenty of time up your sleeve, it's amazing how quick it can get away from you when the pressure starts to build.
I mean, and given the temperatures at the moment in the session as well, I'd even argue that if drivers make an error, there's probably going to be no second chances for the tyres, unless we're right in the dying minutes of the session and drivers are still looking for a time. I would expect, for the most part, everyone, if there is a mistake that happens, they will be immediately straight back to the pits, even though that'll put them off sequence with those who don't make a mistake. By contrast, so only a couple of drivers now left out on circuit as basically the rest of the field lined up in the pit lane. to get ready for the session to change over. One of the drivers there out on circuit as he goes up through the Variante della Roggia, Blake Warboys for WKMP Simsport. He's one of the drivers who has put in some decent results this season, but will possibly be a little alone tonight, given he doesn't have any other teammates in the service. So he might be one to watch in terms of how well can he get in the train without being left behind, Sandman, in these next 20 minutes.
Reminds me a little bit of the old NASCAR style racing where at Talladega, or Daytona, you always want a drafting buddy, and that, it's not essential around here, but it does make a big help. You can make your night a lot easier, because if you are by yourself and you just lose touch with the leaders and they're all bunched up, you will just see them slowly just start to pull away from you little bit by little bit. So everything else helps, and that's what they'll be trying to do, is just trying to keep some sort of draft on the front of the nose of that car.
All right, out they come of the pit lane. It's time for the race to see who can get themselves the place seat pole position here tonight from Monza. Well, I say a race, really, at the end of it all, as long as you can get a time on the board before be the driver at the top of the boards. When the time hits 0, that will be what matters, of course, here tonight, as we look to see it appears Jared Filsell will lead the train away from the lane, but in amongst the train there, you can see Dylan O'Shea for 9.5 Simsport, Tyson Broad from Drop Bear Motorsport. Also got Adam Riggs, I'm seeing there for Synergy Sim Racing, although got Griffin Garner looking to make his way up to join his Doing Okay by Lobs Esports teammates at the front. Of course, obviously have been coming in to make some fill-in appearances this season, Sam M, and as a result, in the time since I last filled in on any broadcasting duties for this series, so obviously some big changes to certain drivers such as Andrew Gilliam and Griffin Gardner joining Lobs Esports, Ricky Zetsov returning to 9.5 Simsport, meaning that drivers from Vermilion Esports have been a bit reduced in terms of numbers for this series, so this will be an interesting chance to see who can make the most of it here. As we'll also see nice, gentle outlap here, of course, as they look after the tyres.
Yes, you touched on how hot the track is, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're babying them at the moment. They want to make the most of that rubber when they get round to the start-finish line, and they're not pushing out crazy times just to get to the start-finish line. It's all about just taking it easy. They're all pretty much happy to be line astern. They're all going to help each other a little bit. It's just as I say that, we'll start to shuffle around there, but won't be too long. They're coming up to the final turn. You can see them just making their way to camera now, and they will be starting the first of their qualifying laps. And we talk about the time, how quickly it disappears. They haven't even started across the start-finish line, and we're almost at 17.5 minutes to go. So that time dwindles away pretty quickly, and these guys will know that playing in the back of their mind.
Yeah, they will. Obviously 3 wide right towards the back of this train is up front. There it is for a moment there. Steve was in the middle of several drivers there for a second, but they start organising themselves as the rest of the snake ahead makes their way down the start finish straight towards Variante della Filio to get this first flying laps on the board. Indeed, nearly 3 whole minutes burned up by the outlap as they come through the first chicane here, up and over the curbs, try and get a straight exit so they can put the right foot down as flat to the floor, and then build up here for Curva Grande and the approach to the Della Roggia, the second chicane.
Isn't it funny? You draw this track on a piece of paper and it looks fairly simple. Oh yeah, a couple of squiggly bits and a couple of turns there. We should be right, some long straightaways. But as we can see, the car's bouncing over the curbs there through the chicane. It's actually quite an art to get through there nice and fast and just get those cars up on 2 wheels and get through there nice. It really looks the part. It's very poetic, and when you get it right, it feels quite good. But it's funny how tricky this racetrack can be to get a decent fast lap around it.
I mean, part of it being, complexity and simplicity, if that's even a thing you can say about places like this. The fact that to get the most out of this place, you've got to know this circuit like the back of your hand, perhaps even more so than some of the other places we will visit and have visited across the course of this season. Continue to focus on James Scott here in the 088. You can see that Dylan O'Shea, who is just behind him in the train, has lost a couple of tenths on this lap so far as they make their way towards Curva Parabolica, or say it's Curva Alboreto these days, officially, mind you. as we look for our first times to come onto the timing tower as they round the final turn here. We'll see what James Scott, which is right up behind Griffin Gardner. This, I think, will be competitive. Timing says a 47.7 for James Scott. In fact, Dylan O'Shea goes to the top of the pool. I didn't see that one coming based on what the our sector markers were saying at the time. Impressive work for the 19.
Yeah, and those times are still adjusting all the way through the field, but that's a good banker. We talk about how crucial it is just to get a banker down because of how quickly these sessions can get away from you. So he'd be pretty stoked with that to go straight to the top of the timesheets as it plays out. Madison down crossing the line, only good enough for 16th position. So now it's a race for these guys to get back to pit lane, put on a fresh set of Dunlops and go again as we just get under 15 minutes to go.
And we'll get to see how slow they're willing to go on the second hour lap. I can tell you the track temperature is increasing. We are almost about to hit 53 degrees Celsius. When you round it to no decimal places, we are at 53 degrees Celsius at this stage. So that's going to be something to watch out for. It was pretty slow for the first hour lap. Will they go any slower on the second? Or are there drivers who are going to be thinking perhaps that they need to back it off a little bit here? We're seeing our current field spread is about 3 seconds. Whether that is a case of drivers having to back off on that flyer or getting the setup on, we'll have to wait and see.
Some drivers and teams will approach this differently too. As much as we say it's crucial to get that banker in, some people may be there to sacrifice their first out lap just to help a teammate, and then it might be vice versa, where your teammate will be there to help you. So, you know, if you see your favourite driver and they're a little bit down the boards at this stage, don't be too concerned. We've still got plenty of time to go. But yeah, it's funny how some teams approach this, but there's a bit of an art. You can see, look how close they are, tucked right up underneath each other. But there's an art to leaving enough space where you can benefit from that draft, but not trip over the person in front too. So then you'll start to lose that advantage, what you gain in the draft. So it's a bit of an art. It looks like these guys are squabbling a little bit, but that won't help the times.
Yeah, no, it certainly won't. On the sin lap, though, it will mean they will just take their time to get, well, not take their time, they'll get back into the pits as fast as they can, as Josh Anderson's had a moment in the 36 TTR. He's the car backwards on pit entry there. I just have a quick look for myself and see what's caused it. The biggest problem for him is he's now going to wait for everyone to go by so he can then spin around. That's going to cost him a good 30-odd seconds or so, and then also potentially lose him teammates. Yeah, just following in Brady Myers, just in too hot, and he actually got the pit entry, the divider between the racetrack and this pit entry part of the circuit there. So that will, yeah, for him, unfortunately, a bit of an awkward moment. Nothing more at the moment, though, critically. So he'll get back out there once again. It's just going to be take a little while to wind up there. So second attempt coming in. We have 30 drivers on the board with qualifying times. That does therefore leave us with, well, Griffin Gardner, no time yet. Robbie Gibbs, no time yet. Thomas Freeman, no time. Zach Ratcho White, no time. As speaking of replays, we'll go to an OG gear replay here on board with Josh Anderson. And just watch, he'll make contact on the left-hand side of the car here, Sam. Plume of brake lock smoke in front doesn't help either. And thankfully, that's minor in the grand scheme of things.
And the beauty is he gets back to pit lane, so that'll all be sorted for his next run. But it just shows you how easy that can happen. He was either going to collect the back of his teammate or he caught the wall. Unfortunately, caught the wall, but I think it's the beauty that he's got too is that in a situation with Trans-Tasman Racing is that they've got a couple of cars here in this race. So I'm guessing one or more might have been able to hang back for him if he didn't get out of the lane quick enough. So we'll see how that plays out for the rest of this session. But yeah, not ideal, but the best time to do it is right at the start of quali if it's going to happen.
All right, just have a look at some of the drivers. Just see here, drivers. We've got Josh Anderson, 19th place. And speaking of Josh at that moment in pit entry, but also Brady Myers is currently in at 24th. I think some of the Trans-Tasman drivers who are towards the back of the snake here. Well, they say the big challenge is so many of our drivers, they're just waiting here, and they all line up on this run to the Barabola final turn. Try and find teammates. No one wants to be the first one to go, of course. You don't want to lead this train to turn one. Although it looks like it'll be in the hands of Dylan Rudd and Jared Phil-Sold to do so. And so I'm just watching everyone just get backing up, trying to find their spot, not hit anyone in front of them, and also critically now, not compromise the run-up, because they might be going so slow if they're not careful. it'll mean they're down on their personal bests once they get to the start finish line here and head for turn 1.
Yeah, I think something to forget about that is that, starting your lap is all about your approach to the final corner too. Like you said, if you start a little bit too slow, you're going to carry that all the way down the front straightaway, which can hurt you big time, because it's a decent run to that first chicane when you come out of that last corner. So they need to be very mindful of that, because that can be, crucial tenths that you're giving away for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I think definitely affected a few drivers on that first 10 was Griffin Gardner, Robin Gibbs, Thomas Freeman, Zach Rattrell White, Ryan Walsh, Matt Kamara, Michael Whining, Luke Mitchinson, Ian Ford, Blake Warboys, and Brenton Hobson, plus Brady Baldwin. Those are the drivers who didn't get a time in on the first attempt, which makes me think, now it could have been set up for the lap, it could have been an error somewhere during the lap. Obviously, there's an example where Jake Maloney appears to have pulled over and aborted the run in number 29 Trans-Tasman Mustang. As we focus on Rick Kuznetsov here, looking to improve on provisional P7. 47.818 in behind his teammate Dylan O'Shea with that provisional pole for the 19 machine in front. See them hop the curbs here to Scari, try and use all the track they can whilst keeping the car pointed straight. And even here on the run to the final turn, they're still hitting a top speed of almost 280 kilometers an hour. And that's not the longest straight at this circuit. So definitely getting some speed in here. And you can see the car complaining on the front left as they try and put the power down and try to transition that complaint to the rear left as they then wind up for the run. And it looks decent across the line because Kuznetsov, he finds over 3/10 of a second. He'll go to second place. James Scott, though, has taken provisional pole away from Dylan O'Shea, who has dropped back to 5th. With Scott, Kuznetsov, Phil Sells, Rick Galt, and O'Shea, your top 5 here in qualifying with 8.5 minutes left.
The drivers making another charge here. You can see that draft just trying to take to effect. Obviously now they've got to, once they finish their lap, they head straight back to pit lane, put on a new set of tyres, and off they go again, because those tyres, especially in these conditions, are absolutely cooked. So they'll throw them away pretty quick and they'll be absolutely stoked to get a brand new set on, because that is key around here, especially the way that we've been talking about the temperatures at this stage.
Yeah, it will. And we'll look to see critically capitalise on how things get a good start here tonight. This place also a little bit infamous as well, Sandman, for going all kinds of sideways right at the start of a race into the very undirected Filio. Such a compression point as the track narrows up here on the start. You can maybe get 3 wide if you're ambitious to turn 1. It quickly becomes a 2 wide, and then ideally you want to be going through their single file.
We're tin tops, where these guys can have a little bit of argy-bargy, but still, ideally, you want to get through their single file.
All right. The leading train peels in. 7 minutes to go. So if they average about 3 minutes for the outlap, this is going to be it for these drivers coming into the pits now. The question is, will any of them wait? Then again, given the way the track has not cooled down in this session so far, I would suspect they'll press on. And indeed, the first car is heading out. Looks like Dylan Rudd, I think, going to lead the charge. No, pardon me, not quite. It will be Jared Filso who gets out in front first to get the doing okay by Lobs Esports drivers ahead nice and early. So Filso from Gilliam from Rudd. Dylan O'Shea able to pop out in 4th in the queue for now, but he's got Griffin Gardner behind. I would suspect we'll see drivers like Luca Rosella, who's a little further back in the group, but James Scott in behind him too. Probably get to the front to make it all 5 of the Lobs cars there working together in this session once more.
We're almost at the time where you really need to make it count. If you've made a bit of a meal of qualifying so far, just under 6 minutes to go, the pressure's on to get this lap in, because you don't want to leave it to that last chance. You don't know how you're going to be situated as far as a draft. So given that there's a little bit of time up their sleeve, by the time they come round, it's going to be 3 minutes to go. So, and you don't want to make that second push on tyres like we touched on with the track temperatures. You're not really going to optimise any of that out of yourself. So these guys now know that if they haven't done a good job, they really need to get it done now.
Yeah, indeed. I think, Sam, this is going to be the final one for everyone with these drivers taking... This outlap looks to be taking a little bit less time than the previous one, but nevertheless, what this will mean is that the drivers... the outlap is faster, I think, on this particular occasion. I can see James Scott's powered through up to join his teammates here. But you've also got Jake Burton, who's looking to make a bit of a run towards the front of the group, and he decides he will slot in there. So looking to see who can make the most of this one here tonight. And Burton's actually going for it now. He's decided, I'm not going to let anyone have a toe off of me. I'm going to go now. The biggest question is, he's in 18th, 48.0, just over, or just under 6/10, pardon me, behind our provisional place seat pole time at the moment in the hands of James Scott. So can he go faster? No, actually he's going to abort. Now, he does have time to do this. Is this a question of now trying to, see if he can trigger a response from other drivers? But, for example, the Lobs cars, they're winding up and appear to be committing. And so I think they're going to go now and make this their final run in the session.
It was interesting. I thought he was going to make a run by himself, being that far down in the grid, and just take that gamble as far as doing a run without the draft. But he's obviously got a different play set in his mind. He's gone to the lane, got on some new tyres, and make that last-minute charge.
All right, let's watch them head on down towards turn number 1 here. Currently looking at Ethan Gold, who's made his way up to 4th in the results so far. Currently tucked up behind Adam Briggs as well, who's down 12. The gap between them in terms of lap time in this session, just over 0.3 of a second. So hopefully that's not going to be too much of an impediment to him. And it looks like O'Shea's given up on this one. So the number 19, 9.5 Supersport Mustang has to bail out now. So the result is just all off the track, waiting for some time where he can get back on. Another Synergy Sim Racing car in the background has aborted, it seems, through the Roger chicane there. Continue to watch the driver at the front, working the exit of Lesmo 2. Run most of that curve there, Sandman, but that's an easy one to get sucked into pushing too hard and running wide and then validating your lap if you get it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely, and credit to him. He got out of the way. He knew that his lap had sort of gone south for the winter. So, but as best the job that he did, sometimes it can be distracting for the drivers when you see a car just dart off and they're through the grass. Obviously, he's trying to do the absolute right thing by everyone, but can be a bit distracting. But you take that over someone holding you up any day. So, kudos to him and everyone else who does their best to get out of the way when things don't go right. But we approach with 2 minutes 20 to go in qualifying. Oh, big sideways run there. Ethan Quickgold gets drilled, absolutely drilled in the door. Now he's a sitting duck. Everyone's going to be coming around that last corner. This is going to be chaos. They've had to abort. They've done the best thing that they could. Just get out of the way quick, smart. But that definitely made it tricky. I see some more contact in the pit lane as well. So things really heating up here as we hit with 2 minutes to go. But unfortunately, just got sideways and got absolutely drilled in the door.
Oh man, I actually missed that one there. He's gone back to the pits from the middle of the circuit, so that's going to be important as well, because technically that'll be a procedural breach for escaping without permission. The question is, will that be excused in circumstances or not, or will they have to hold hard on the rule? He's not going back out, so I believe he's going to sit tight on that one there. So let's have a look at it here on the OG Gear replay. And unfortunately, unforced, just in behind Adam Briggs, the rear steps out the Parabolica. And then, as you said, it's Joe Stewart who comes along in the 35 machine. And yeah, a complete broadside angle there. A couple of cars. He's in forward trying to commit to a lap. He's on the outside. Actually, looks like he comes back to the pit lane. Is there going to be an issue here, perhaps, on pit entry? That looks like there might be an issue there. Unfortunately, we've lost it behind the pit wall.
I know we have that no escape rule, but I know exactly, I don't know 100%, but I imagine that he just got out of there quick smart because he knew he was right in the middle of the racetrack, coming around the last corner. I guess he just wanted to do his best to get out of there and not ruin everyone else's lap. So I can see why he did it. I guess we'll just leave that up to the stewards. He didn't do it for an advantage. He just did it to get out of the way.
Yeah, he did. I think hopefully that will be Pardon me, whilst I'm just looking into the background here. But yeah, be curious to see what the decision is with that one there. As we watch a few more drivers make their way into the pits here at the end of the session with 15 seconds left. There's some drivers coming around the last turns here. Only a handful, if any of them are on a lap, are going to get in, but everyone's coming in the pit. So that will just about do it. Oh, sorry, one person through. Teo Sorono's gone through. Now, according to my timing, he is starting a flyer. So we've got ourselves one driver left who might be able to improve. Currently 18th, and he's in hot to turn one. And that will unfortunately do it for him right off the bat, I think.
Yeah, he might try and push on just to try and save whatever he can, but yeah, unfortunately, it would have compromised his lap a little bit. Dylan O'Shea on screen, I think he might be coming to the end. He'll be heading to pit lane here, so looks like he's going on with it. So it looks like the field may be set. It had a little bit of everything, didn't it? There was obviously everyone's playing the draft game. We saw that drama and the spin there as well, but thankfully, most everyone got away with it, and that was our qualifying session for Monza. And yeah, that had a little bit of everything. Didn't disappoint.
No, it certainly did not indeed. Be looking to see how it all shakes down. But we're going to chat to a couple of drivers as part of the Games and Grid walk, as always. But let's walk you through the grid in full here as well. And your place seat pole position going to go to Dylan Rudd in the 990 for doing okay by Lobs Esports there. Just 35 thousandths of a second in it there to James Scott, sharing the front row with him there tonight. So certainly competitive at the front of the field once again, as we often see amongst the Lobs Esports drivers. On our second row, actually relying on the overlays here, which means unfortunately I'm waiting to see who we've got. It'll be Jared Filson, my apologies there, in the 94 machine, who will settle into third place. Less than a tenth of a second covering the top three here tonight, with Rick Kuznetsov putting the 888 on that second row as well. That's a good return to form there for on his return to the 95 SimSport stable as well, I should add. Griffin Gardner makes it P5 in the number 93 machine. He'll be sharing that third row with the first of Evolution Racing team cars in the form of Ethan Griggolt there in the number 7. Behind him on our fourth row tonight will be Dylan O'Shea after that early flyer that got him into provisional pole position. He'll have to settle for 7th place here tonight with Andrew Gilliam alongside in the next of our Doing OK Lobs Esports machines, a 201 out of 8th place for this one here tonight. And then Luke Rosella in the one Lobs Esports car that's coloured a little differently in this one here. Going to be 9th place there, and a quarter of a second off is all it is, with Madison Down going to round out your top 10 in the number 1 Trans-Tasman Racing Commodore.
We go through the rest of the field. It's Marcelo Rivera. He's in 11th place over Adam Briggs in 12th. It's so incredibly close throughout these times, but it's what we expect around this racetrack. They're making the most of the draft, and when you see that the top 3 are covered by less than a tenth of a second, that just goes to show you how crucial that draft is. It's really going to put on some good racing, and at the end of the day, you're going to see how crucial it is as far as, those leaders maybe getting away from each other and, separating this field. We go back to 13th and 14th. It's Wayne Burke, Synergy Sim Racing, and Jordan Ross back there in 14th place on the grid. In 15th, Forzan El Nabi. And in 16th, a little bit further back, is Brady Myers. 17th, we've got Job Stewart. And 18th, Teos Herrera. So, obviously not ideal for these guys, a little bit further back and than they'd all like. And that goes for Jake Burton too, 19th, and Brenton Hobson rounding out your top 20 so far. So, these guys will be pushing on and making the most of this race as far as the laps go. They've got plenty of time to get the job done. Jacob O'Reilly in 21st and Josh Anderson in 22nd. Jake Maloney in another Trans-Tasman Mustang back in 23rd, and Andre Youssef in 24th place. Hayden Veld in 25th and Scott Gamble in 26th. And in 27th, Sean McNamara and Damien Johnston in 28th place for Synergy Sim Racing. Another Synergy Sim racer in Tom Freer back in 29th, and in 30th, it's Blake Warboys. As we go through the field, Matthew Bowler in 31st, Michael Taliancic in 32nd. Luke Mitchelson in 33rd, Brady Baldwin back in 34th. These guys will have their work cut out for them at the start. It'll be quite the bottleneck going into that chicane, with Robert Gibbs in 35th and Tyson Broad in 36th place. 37th, Ian Ford, a little bit further back than we'd expect to see from 40, and Michael Whiting in 38th place. And in 39th, pulling up the rear, Kurt Stenberg. He'll have an incredible show running into that first chicane. I no doubt he'll be taking it pretty easy as far as that first run into that chicane, because it can be quite the bottleneck as we go to the Gamesman grid walk. And we're going to start going through and finding our drivers as they prepare for this round number 7 here at Monza. So the first of our drivers to join us for the Gamesman grid walk is Dylan Rudd. Dylan, congratulations, mate. Pole position. How did you feel for that quali session, mate?
Yeah, just worked. All the us Lobs guys just worked together at the front just to try to get an ideal toe lap in, and yeah, managed to snag a good lap at the end there to put me on pole position.
It's hold your breath stuff with quali, isn't it, mate? The top three, you three guys, less than a 10th in it, absolutely unreal. It's you guys looked like you got yourself sorted, had a little bit of a toe partner there with the team, and that worked out nicely for you in quali.
Yeah, it did. The times are obviously super close throughout the whole field, so yeah, toe was necessary to put me up the front somewhere.
How do you approach the start, mate? It's obviously a bit of a run into that first chicane. Your thoughts on that? Obviously, you're in the best position possible because you get to lead and you don't have to worry about too much of a bottleneck. And it helps to have a couple of teammates that you know that probably aren't going to do something silly to dive up the inside.
Yeah, so obviously getting a good clean start would be the first thing to do. And yeah, obviously having James and Jared behind me, I don't really have to worry about anything silly happening. So yeah, which is a good thing.
All right, Dylan, we'll let you focus. Get ready for the start of this race. Thanks for having the chat. Good luck at the race. Hopefully we're talking to you at the end of the night.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dylan. There's Dylan in the Doing OK Commodore. And we go a little bit further down the grid in 5th position. We're going to walk up and have a chat to Griffin Gardner. Griffin. Mate, P5, that's not too bad. You don't want to be too far back in this field when that barrel into that first chicane. So I guess you'd be pretty happy, especially with a couple of teammates up in front too.
Yeah, it's definitely a good result. It's good to have a lot of the teammates up here as well. So hopefully work together off the start here.
How nerve-wracking was qualifying for you, mate? Because we talked about how crucial the draft can be. Absolutely nothing in it for the top three. That obviously makes life a little bit easier when you've got someone, and especially teammates, to draft with. But was that something that played on your mind coming into qualifying?
Yeah, first lap I got a slow down. So I was kind of recovering from there and did a good lap on my last. So recovered, but it's definitely stressful. The margins are so tight around here, and track limits is a big issue as well. So it's definitely hard to get a good lap in.
And a long race round here, mate. How are you prepping yourself? You're just going to take it easy at the start? You got a little bit of a game plan, or you just want to see how the race plays out for you?
I think we'll just see how we get off the line, if I can actually do it this time. And hopefully just settle in and have a good race and not do what we did last time.
Right, all the best, mate. Make up for that start for the last round. And, mate, you've got a couple of teammates there. Tag on the back of them. Make it look easy and run away, hey? Grab the win.
Yeah, I hope so. Cheers, Simon.
All the best, mate. We'll let you get ready for the race. That's Griffin Gardner. Then we're going to chase down and go back a little bit further down the grid and find Forzen El Nabi. Forzan, congratulations, mate. You've made the grid. You're in the middle, not P1, but plenty to work with as this race goes on, starting out at P15.
Yeah, it's not the best qualifying, unfortunately, but we've got a long race ahead of us. So we'll just go try, have some fun and see what happens. There's a lot of opportunity to fuel save around here, so there's always chances to get up the grid, that's for sure.
Now, a mindset as far as how this is going to play out. Obviously, long race. There's a lot can happen. How are your concerns going into that first chicane? Obviously, it turns into a little bit of a bottleneck. Obviously, everyone's got everyone's excited about getting the race started. Do you find yourself worried about that first chicane?
Yeah, for sure. It could make or break your race, I reckon. So we've all got to try and get through there cleanly. We've got 4 of our SSR guys together, so we'll try and keep each other safe. And I reckon once we get through that turn 1, turn 2, we should be good.
How was prep coming into this round, mate? Monza's a very fast racetrack. You know, we've touched on quite a few times how crucial the draft can be. Your prep leading into tonight, were you confident about a decent result?
There hasn't been much prep, if I were to be honest, but yeah, I think there's a lot of strategy that goes on, which is good. It kind of suits my style, so I'll definitely be looking forward to using my fuel saving abilities and try and get up the field as much as I can. I reckon a top 10 result should be good. So yeah, we'll see how we go, and yeah, hopefully you boys have fun as well.
Appreciate it, Forzan. We'll let you get ready, get focused for the start of this race. Thanks for chatting with us on the Games from Good Walk, and hopefully we're talking to you at the end of the night.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, boys.
Cheers, mate. There it is, Forzan El-Nabi, starting 15th on the grid. Doesn't matter where you start in this racetrack, it's always going to be an absolute cracker of a race. I find myself every time we get to the starting grid very, very jealous that these guys are strapped in, ready to go. 48 laps around Monza. They're going to have their work cut out for them, but what an absolute cracker of a race this should turn out to be.
That it should, Sam, man. Apologies for me being a little absent there, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, some issues in the back end, just trying to help out there as well. So thanks to Sam for taking care of the games and grid work for us there tonight as we await the starters' orders here for this race. As you said, 48 laps. This is going to be a good one, and we look forward to seeing how it goes as Dylan Rudd with the place seat pole position in hand. He's waiting to get this one underway tonight in just a moment's time. And we'll see, can Doing Okay by Lobs Esports. They've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th and 9th there on the road locked up, which hopefully will be what they can use to their advantage. And decisions coming in from race control. That spin for Ethan Griggolt has resulted in a 10-second time penalty for impeding Job Stewart, who was attempting to finish a qualifying lap there. And a rear of grid start for Zach Rattray White for license points at the last round. I hear the revs rising in the background. And it's time for round 7 of Logitech Pro Invitational for 2024 to get underway. And it looks like it's going to be a dead heat between James Scott and Dylan Rudd on the run of the turn 1. Jared feels so with the better launch, but he's got nowhere to go. Blocked up by his teammates. Griggolt defending from Gilliam there. About 3 rows back. It's into the first hairpin chicane will go. Let's see, can they get through neat and tidy on this opening lap?
Oh, great camera shot. You can see everyone trying their absolute best. 2 and 3 wide as they get through that chicane. Everyone knows that you can't win. Oh, just as I say that, there was a little bit of contact. Someone's run wide there as well. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of nose-to-tail contact, and you can see the damage to the front of that car as well. Not ideal on the opening lap. I was just about to credit them and say how clean they all got through there.
Now, unfortunately, win some, lose some kind of a situation, it seems, as they'll make their way up through the second chicane here, the De La Roggia, and prepare for the Lesmos, as that's Marcelo Rivera getting out of shape, making some contact with Luke Rosella there on the run to Lesmo 1, but they sort that one out and get back in single file. Wayne Burt fending off Brady Myers there as well, and then looking here, it's a little more orderly in the middle of the field, it seems, for the moment, as they try and all get the power down through Lesmo number 2, and head on to the Ascari at race pace. Now, we've seen all the games that were happening in qualifying. Now, with everyone committed to full attack, let's watch them here as they try and line up. And Phil Sell looking strong here on the opening lap. Although Dylan Rudd too also breaking away to 0.6 of a second. There's a little bit of a breather as they approach the Parabolica for the first time.
Yeah, I think it's ideally a great start for those. These guys are just nose to tail. They don't need to do anything stupid and just stay in touch with each other. And I think the more that they can just stay single file, they might have a chance of just stretching in this little gap over the rest of the field. And that's what they want to do, is just try and break that train a little bit, and that'll help themselves, because you wouldn't be too worried if a teammate starts to get away from you, because you can always crack the radio and say, hey, why don't you drop back a little bit, give me a little bit of a tow. But at the moment, it's all about just getting a nice clean start and seeing how they go into the chicane for lap number 2.
File at the front of the field. I see Josh Anderson just getting past Brenton Hobson on our timing tower. Further on back is definitely a bit more too wide action further on behind as they work their way through the Grande up front here at least, and waiting to see how it'll all unfold as we get to the Della Roggia once again. With no safety car on lap 1, the pit window will be open here at the end of lap 2, but, well, as we've been talking about the value of the draft Sandman, unless it's an entire team that's going to peel into the pits early, and also would be doing themselves a bit of a disservice on pit strategy by doing so, I'd expect don't be seeing too many cars down the lane here on this second lap.
Oh, a little bit of a move on here, but yeah, that's right. It's you know, as much as the opportunity there is available, it's a no-win situation. I think at this stage to pit. You know, we touched on how much fuel these teams need to get across the line, and being that it's only lap 2, what they want to do is just basically get themselves into a rhythm. That's the crucial bit. Stay in touch with everybody around you, and then just start to work to a game plan. These teams and drivers would have had some sort of idea of how this race is going to play out. It's never ideal as far as you know, there's things out of your hands as far as contact or penalties, but they now know they've got to get themselves in a rhythm and just stay in touch with everyone around them.
Yeah, that will be the critical measure of this race as Phil actually pops out from the draft there a little bit of his teammate James Scott, but he gets back in line as they cross the start finish, and despite that little pop out from the toe, has got the fastest lap of the race so far on that 1:48.64 as they head on down once more towards turns 1 and 2. You can see here that it's fairly neat and tidy and organised here at the front there. Some side-by-side Blake War boys, I think Hayden Veld in the background of seen approaching first chicane. I think it might have been Kurt Stenberg possibly eyeing off the move as well in the background. I think he's gotten through, but Veld may have defended from War boys in that occasion. Matt Foley right on board with here in behind, looking to stick with his teammate there in Veld just up the road. Sandman going to go through War boys first though to do so.
Yeah, all of these teams and drivers, they've got their work cut out for them, regardless of whether you're up the top, front of the field or down the back. You know, it's tricky to pass around here. You're obviously going to rely on a little bit of a tow, and you know, you're hoping, I guess, that the driver in front of you just has a little bit of a wiggle or doesn't get the cleanest of exits, because it's tricky to pass. I mean, I know a lot of these times drivers are actually just sort of sitting riding for the moment, but it's not the easiest of racetracks to get the job done. So you know, if you find yourself a little bit further down the pack, you've really got to start thinking about it, because as tricky as it is and as far back as you may be, those laps are going to tick away fairly quickly.
Yeah, they will. That will be one to watch out for in this opening phase. As been told, let's listen in for a bit of a lift here from Ethan Grigcolt, perhaps, as we ride on board with the number 7 Evolution Racing Team machine. It's building up the power. You can see here super long gear ratios in effect tonight as well. Of course, Sandman, they go pulling 60 at about 250 kilometres an hour. As we'll listen in here.
Yep.
Nice, solid roll off indeed. And no surprises there. If you can save fuel, you better believe his drivers are going to be taking every opportunity that they can to do so. Let's look here at Job Stewart making his way through turns 1 and 2. He might have had a crack at Freddie Myers, or might have been thinking. We're told he got the move done there on the run through the opening chicane there. So up to 13th for the driver. Yeah, recently joined Sim Racing along with Mike Taliancic after it's the unfortunate collapse and departure of the Altus Australia team from the Australian sim racing space, sim racing, I guess, in general. for now, Sandman, but going to SSR as they can bolster the ranks and have the support of drivers like Forza Navi here on screen, among the others from the SSR roster.
Yeah, it's a shame, but things like that happen throughout seasons, and it brings different opportunities for different drivers to get into teams. And it's interesting. Sometimes a change like that can be good for you as a driver when you go into a fresh space and you come up with some different ideas as far as maybe car setup or the way you go about your driving. There's so much that can be learned when sometimes you can feel yourself a little more. Just one of the TCR cars getting sideways, getting that rear tyre on the grass, but. Yeah, you can find yourself a little bit stale sometimes when you're within a group. So sometimes the change is as good as a holiday, and could reap the rewards come the end of the year.
And the other thing that was I've heard Scott Rankin in particular mentions is it's a big change for someone like Mike in particular. Not necessarily for Joe. Quite speed at the moment. His real life motorsport career, but someone like Mike who's been the team manager for the longest time, he now needs to focus on driving, show us what he can do. When that managerial part has been covered off. As speaking of SSR, eyes on Brenton Hobson. Those of you who were watching along with us at Road America last time out for round number 6 of this 2024 season of Logitech Pro Invitational, he was the driver who made his way through the field to earn himself the OG Gear Hard Charger Award from round number 6. 32nd place start up to 17th. So certainly putting on the moves and keeping himself out of trouble there was Hobbo.
Awesome incentive there from OG Gear as far as that Hard Charger Award. It's never great when you have to pass that many cars, but if you can do it and really, reap some reward out of a bad night, that's good. So well done and congratulations on that Hard Charger Award.
All right. Just in and around Hobbo at the moment as well, I believe. Scott Campbell, 24th place on the road at this time. He's got esports cars in front of him. I believe that's Jake O'Reilly. It is the 222 in front. It's 707. Tom Freer in behind. As drivers who are making gains in this race so far, they are a little further on back here at the moment, such as Bobby Gibbs in this Evolution Racing Team number 2 machine. As he winds up through the Ascari chicane. Teammates Bowler, Hayden Bell in front. Trying to now have a go at the 033 of Damien Johnston. We'll see what they can manage as well. Further on towards the back, we'll just over the last 2 runners at the moment in the race. Tyson Broad and Brian Borg. Yep, that's close, but not quite the same. You can see there on the tower at the very bottom, Sandman. 20 seconds off the leaders for now, which is telling you we've got a driver every half a second thereabouts on track.
Yeah, and it's not as ideal as their race is going at the moment. A long way to play out. We haven't touched on much about as far as chance of a safety car, but never rule it out. There's a bit of a move there on the inside. They're going to be side by side through the chicane. Oh, a little bit of give and take on exit. That was good. But Warboy's just trying to hang strong there. Now he's going to have the inside here for this turn, but he's going to be on the outside for the entrance of the chicane. Is he going to have enough here side by side with McNamara? Oh, and he just decides to get back in. I'm happy about it. Flashing the lights though, just letting him know.
Yeah, indeed. 956 Sport team leader. Also definitely suffering from a couple of war wounds on the front of the 951. So we'll see how that plays out the next little while. Let's check in again with Teo Sorono here from Chameleon Esports. Slight update to the paint scheme, it would appear, for this one tonight. There's an OG Gear replay going to come our way first, focusing on Sorono once again. Well, being told, watch out for a slowdown, which I think he caught on the first apex of the Della Roggia chicane there, Sandman, and indeed has to step on the anchors. That's a good 3 spots lost, unfortunately.
Wow, that hurts. I mean, we haven't touched much on that too, but that's so easy to do, and it's almost like, the penalty doesn't suit the crime, but unfortunately it's the same for everyone. And yeah, big stab of the brakes and lost a few positions there, but plenty of time to make it up.
Indeed. Josh Anderson trying to make up some positions in this race tonight. Currently sitting at their 19th place. Try and get a little further up the order. Maloney in behind for a moment. Thought about it, but we'll get back queued up. Navi potentially a bit of a bottleneck for them at this stage. They're just inside the top 10.
So 23's made up a position there too, so he's now into 23rd. So there are a couple of these drivers that are getting the job done. There's people out there just taking it easy as we go to the OG Gear replay. And it's going to be into the chicane, a dive in under brakes. Oh, you need someone to participate a little bit here. They don't want to close the door on you. Really smart move there. Really gave each other plenty of room, and now it's just head down, bum up, and get on with it.
That it is. So thankfully that didn't go anything otherwise. We look here at Marcelo Rivera leading Rosella. Last car in the 10, first car outside. As they enter the Scary chicane here. Just to watch to see which of these guys is faster at the moment. Can Rosella join his teammates from Lobs Esports? You can see them there. 1, 2, 3, 6, and 7 at the front. And he'll look to the inside as we approach Parabolica here, and Rivera nice and early in the race. He knows that's not that big of a deal. Let that one be done and push him along to close up the gap in the meantime.
Love the paint scheme too. Broken it up a little bit. Got the red, white and green on board that Lobs Esports car, and I think it looks the part. So nice to see a little bit of a paint scheme variation from his teammates.
How's that there? Rides the middle of the road though with the big lift from Rivera. And just as we look up here at Andrew Gilliam, who lying there in 6th. As Rivera's able to defend the spots from Wayne Burke and Joe Stewart, but had to put Parker's RT21 down the middle of the road, approaching the first chicane there to make that feasible, whilst also still maintaining a bit of fuel save in the process. Looks like Josh Anderson through on Fulzen El Nabi as Jake Maloney would certainly like to go with. He'll force the issue up the inside with Delamosia, and he can just get that one pulled up there. And as a result, El Nabi's going to have to concede, you'd suggest. Finally.
Man, have a look at the scar. I mean, that's what he's battling there too. That scar on the right front, right-hand front, that's not going to be ideal for him too. So that probably makes him a little bit of a sitting duck, which is why he was quite keen to get the job done. Because, you know, you don't want to be stuck behind a car that might be a little bit aero-compromised. So that's going to make his night just that little bit trickier for him. It's not a race over thing, but it's just unfortunate that little bit of nose damage will cost him. That happened in that first chicane.
That it did indeed. And, yeah, little dangers as you will, of the circuit here is Rosella on Dylan O'Shea, but O'Shea wasn't willing to give that one up just yet here on lap number 8. I hope he's not thinking it's a little early to start fighting like that, because they're not too careful. They could be vulnerable to losing the draft. For now, though, they should be safe, and as a result, Rosella will go straight back on the attack down the main straight here. Inside is his as we approach the first chicane. But O'Shea's going to run the middle of the road. It's going to be a little tighter than they'd like, and they'll bump a little bit on the brakes there, Sandman. But then it opens up as we get down, and then it closes up once again, of course, through the chicane itself.
Oh, no one ever wants to give him a position. Oh, no, a bit of contact. All of that there wasn't. They weren't quite clear on each other, and that could have been quite ugly. But that's now going to hold up Rosella a little bit. So he's under attack now. So you can see that O'Shea, he doesn't want to give up the position, but he knows that. I've got to see if he's going to try and make a dive. Couldn't quite see there. Oh, just as we're on board there, another position change. But he knows that he wants to team up with his teammates. So you never want to give up a position, but you know when someone's there, they're eyeing to get past you fairly quickly. So this battle is far from over, but man, they were lucky not to fire each other off into the fence.
Close indeed, but we keep going without too many more dramas. But it does mean all of that squabbling, gap up to 1.3 seconds. Just as I thought it could happen, we're on lap 9 of 48. We are barely 1/6 race distance completed and entering the second, 6th, if you want to break up the race that way at least. And there's already a gap in the train. Perhaps a little gap further on down, but still inside the top 10 for a gap. So these drivers here are just outside and now absolutely ruining what's happened in front of them, because it's going to make their job just that whole bit harder.
That's why ideally Rosella would have loved to get that job done on O'Shea, because he knows his teammates are up there, and they like you said, they're just slowly starting to open up that gap, and it's going to make his night just that little bit more difficult if he doesn't get the job done, because as soon as you start to lose touch, you can see those front runners, they're just happy to stay single file. They prefer to have quite a boring race in the opening stages because they want to take as much pressure off themselves from behind as they can.
Down into the first chicane will go. It's Joe Stewart's turn to look at Rosella into the chicane. Doesn't get there though, but it shakes everyone up. But watch out to not make too much contact there, fellas. And I think they got through without too much fuss. They made it side by side. Yeah, Blake Warboys has just lost a spot. He's actually back and forth with Andre Youssef for 30th place, according to the timing tower updates there at the bottom of the screen, as we continue to focus on this one here. Final spot in the top 10, and now Dylan O'Shea's given her a reprieve from the pressure that Stewart puts on Rosella. And can O'Shea, at 1.3 seconds behind Madison Down, start catching up? Well, if the top 8 are all fuel saving, he'll be given his chance here in the next lap or two.
Catch 22 a little bit, isn't it? You know, when you know that teams around you are starting to fuel save, and you know, do you throw the dice and sort of use up what fuel you can to get to the back of the draft and then save? It's not always a guarantee, but and it's a fine art to save fuel and keep your pace up as well. That was something I never mastered, unfortunately, and that's probably a fairly good reason why I'm behind the microphone and not behind the steering wheel in this series. So a real art, but something that they need to think about as this race goes on, because every little leader counts.
100% they'll be looking to maximise fuel saving against his team. Adam Briggs here, 15th place. Not that big of a roll, but still modern, still reasonable little save there for him into the final corner here. And they put the power back down for the run to turn number 1. We'll actually stay here, I think, if we can, with Adam Briggs and watch to see what happens in terms of a roll into the first chicane. Get a red line just about 285. Actually holds on the red line for a while there. I did talk over the sound to the cars. I don't think I heard a fuel saving notification this evening.
Yeah, if there wasn't much there at all, was there? So we go to the OG Gear, Original Gamer Gear replay as we go back and see Madison Down. He's on the tail end of this charge, so it looks like he's thinking about making a move. He'll dive up the inside and get the job done. So he was on the back there, and he knew it was crucial just to start. I guess you're obviously a lot happier to be in the middle of the draft than being at the tail end, because that chance of missing out on that stiff of the draft, that could be a bit of a game changer. So Madison Down picking off one more car in 7th position.
That he is indeed. So rounding once again. Already up through Lasmo's 1 and 2 for the drives to the front. They're already well down through Ascari. Guys towards the back of the field, they're out and around Lasmo's 1 and 2 by comparison. And we'll see who can make themselves a difference in a certain phase. Still 11 laps down. Haven't seen any pit stops towards the front of the field tonight. I don't think the pit stops period have happened yet. Unfortunately, I can't confirm that for myself at this stage. As being told, update incoming here for Kurt Stenberg on the OG Gear replay, and it's not good news for fans of the 47.
Oh, it's into the chicane. Everything looks pretty good so far. Oh, I got tagged in the right rear. Oh, and now he'll have nose damage too. So, geez, that's unfortunate. And now the worst part is he's stuck in that chicane. He has to let everyone through. I believe there might be, I'm no steward, but there could be a penalty coming their way.
Yeah, word on the street, Sam, and there is apparently no one could ever get you into a steward's box. You'd much rather wear the other side of the situation. But whilst we've been looking at Stenny's incident on the OG Gear replay, Madison Down has picked off Andrew Gilliam as well. So made that 2 drivers from the Logitech Esports organisation that the number 1 has cleared. As apparently Tyson Broad is going to be our first driver to take to the pits further on down the order, and indeed he is now just starting to take a first of his 2 voluntary pit stops on the end of lap 11.
It's going to be interesting when these teams decide to fire off into pit lane. Obviously, they're going to try and, pit together and lose as little time as possible. So that'll be something playing on their minds. And we'll see a little bit more damage to that 951 car as well on that right front. So, again, not ideal.
It's about to come through from race control on our screens. First in-race penalty has been decided. That OG gear replay we saw being for Kurtzenberg. Fairly open and shut case from the stewarding team. They have deemed that'll be Ian Ford at fault, and a 15-second time penalty about to come up for the 115. So not ideal for him. As we see pit stop time coming up for Tyson Ward, as he's actually, pardon me, he's actually been in the lane longer than 40 seconds. I count a minute 13. So big troubles for the 27 for Dropbound Motorsport, and in fact he's now a lap down on the field. It was already a pretty bad place to be on your own. Now it's in a world of hurt.
Let's look at this front pack. We were talking about how it looked like the top 8 were probably getting away from the rest of the group, but now they've really tucked back up. I know we've talked about a couple of moves that Madison Downs made as he's gained a couple of spots, and maybe that's just been a little bit of a chain reaction where it's slowed the rest of the field, and now we've got quite the snake. And have a look at that. That's quite the aero train for this field, and that gap was starting to get a little bit noticeable, but now that brings everyone else back into the equation.
That it certainly does. In fact, slowdown penalty incoming, being told. Apologies, I actually something else. It was Tom Freer as follow-up from race control there on your screens as well. Apologies there, ladies and gents. So I've now also jumped in the producer's chair while we're at things. So looking here at the front of everything for now, to wait to see how things go and just get a few things set up in the background to make sure we are keep this broadcast rolling for you here tonight. Our leaders on screen now, Salmon, as they make their way down towards Parabolica, lap 14. Update on Tyson Broad. Unfortunately, he has left the server, so don't know what the exact answer is for that there. Having come into the season midway for the Dropbound Motorsport number 27, unfortunately, out early here tonight.
Yeah, it's never ideal, is it? Unfortunately, the night ending the way it is. I can see there's a car heading to pit lane back there too. I didn't quite see who that was. So here we are, lap 15, and we've already spoken that there are a couple of people that have decided to hit the lane yet. But as our leaders come into that first chicane, they're quite content at the moment. They want to stay in. So it looks like Jake Burton and Josh Anderson. So both TTR team players there, they decided to get their stop out of the way. And the benefit for them is they'll have each other to draft with on exit too. So, but for the front runners, they're quite content at the moment. Yeah, we've heard that everyone's been saving fuel as this race has been going along. So it'll be interesting to see how much longer that these guys go as we're lap 15 of 48.
Yeah, actually, if I did get some basic numbers kitted out before we went live tonight, Sam. Let me try and bring them up for us all real quick. Presuming they all started on a full tank of fuel, they've got at least 25 laps in the car tonight. If they're pushing with the amount of fuel saving we're seeing, easily expect it to be more like 26 or 27.
That gives them a little bit of room to move, doesn't it, throughout this race? As far as, you know, the likelihood of a safety car, you just never know. They're probably pretty low at this stage. So these teams and drivers, you know, we touched on it, that everyone's saving that little bit of fuel, trying to eke it out that little bit longer than they can. But, at the end of the day, they will try and run this as long as they can. They know that these front runners, there's been a little bit of swapping there between teammates, but when you're racing there with your team, you can all draft with each other and stay in touch. So that's exactly what they're doing. So a little bit of a position change with Jared moving into P2.
Yep, not too surprising there, that a bit of switching it around at the front of the field. Go back a little bit further in the order. Focus here on Marcelo Rivera, because he's right underneath the gearbox of Brady Myers, or as he was. And then a more gentle roll from the ERT number 21 into turn 1. Adam Briggs in behind him there. Can't find a way through as a result.
Been surprised how patient these teams and drivers have been too. I guess they all know what's on the line. You don't really gain too much about making silly manoeuvres and dives up the inside. Yes, we've seen a little bit of contact. That comes with racing every day. So, but for the most part, everyone's quite content, just to run along. I think they get an idea of how this race is playing out for them, and whether it's actually worth, making a dive and trying to catch up to everyone in front. There's so many things that can play out through tonight's race. But, for the most part, everyone's been well behaved.
Yeah, as you said, only a few minor penalties have come in from race control. We do know, obviously, there was the qualifying time penalty that came through as well for Ethan Griggold, so we'll have to see when that will be served. And as we now coming up, well, this is the end of 1/3 race distance, so our driver's going to come and perhaps peel in here and now and split the race down the middle. Go back to the front of the field to have a look-see.
Almost wondering if Jared's going to lead for a little bit. Obviously, it might be his turn just to save a little bit of fuel and drag his teammates along. I don't know what they're playing at the moment. Obviously, they know they're getting close to pit stops, so he might be just there quite content just to push James Scott along, or do they swap around and Jared punches a hole in the air? Perhaps maybe that's what they're thinking of doing. So we saw Jared moved into second, and again, yes, now. So he's taken the lead, and now what he's going to do is just return the favour to James Scott, just to say, hey, mate, I'll lead this run a little bit. I've had a chance to save some fuel. Now you can do the same and tuck in behind.
Yeah, that he will indeed. As we watch them around the Curva Grande here at full speed, almost. They're going to grab 6th gear on the way out. We'll look for the roll. Not much of it from Phil Sell here on this occasion as we head on into the Della Roggia. And you can see another driver taking to the pit lane, Michael Whiting, in the 025 for Fishy Motorsports will be the next car, it seems, to make for the pit lane there. So right on 1/3 distance, he will come down the lane. But the biggest problem is there are only 2 cars that are pitted, Jake Burton and Josh Anderson, and they have flown straight past him just now.
I think Jared's actually opening up that margin a little bit. So whether he's doing that just to really help James as far as using that draft and maybe, up his speeds down that front straightaway, I don't know. But that gap to over half a second, he's now just opened up that tiny little margin. Obviously, he's not going to run away from them. It looks like that might have been a slowdown penalty there for one of the TTR cars. So Jake Maloney, did he have an incident or was it a slowdown? Not quite sure, but he came to an abrupt stop through that chicane and lost quite a bit of margin as we check out the original Gamer Gear replay. And it looks like that might have been the case.
Yeah, I'm going to say slowdown. Oh, actually, no. Yeah. It's worse than a slowdown, Sam, man. It's a full-on black flag for the 29 that he's somehow picked up and all this. So he is heading straight for the pit lane. And that actually looked a little quick on pit entry there. I get the feeling we're about to say goodbye to Jake Maloney.
Okay.
Unless,
sure what that's all about.
Well, I might be wrong there. If I am wrong, apologies for just didn't quite see over the pit wall. It looked like he flew in very quick to the pit entry. He is stopped in his pit box at least.
So we concentrate back up the front. Jared Filsell over teammate James Scott and Dylan Rudd. Line astern here, and we're not too far away from pit stops, and that will shake things up a little bit. We've already seen that some people have had their fair share of dramas coming into the lane, and that's the last thing that you need is throwing away your race, where we're at the point now where everyone's in a little bit of a comfortable position up front, but it's so easy to make a mistake in pit lane, whether it be a penalty, a speeding penalty, or even contact with the wall. We've already seen that in qualifying, so that's the last thing they need, and they'll be very mindful as we start thinking about pit stops.
Yeah, still waiting for the leaders to think about making a stop here tonight, because it appears they'll happily run longer in this race. They still need about a full tank's worth of fuel to make it home, give or take a couple of litres, but split it over 2 stops. So it's basically going to be, and I guess it makes sense also with the conditions as they are in the service, still being hot, but not as hot as we saw in qualifying. Well, the air temp is still very hot, Sam, man, but at 45 degrees, I think you just crept back up on us there. It's going to fluctuate on us as well for good measure. So how about that? A bit of back and forth there. So it's come down on a grand total of 6 degrees for good measure. So yeah, curious to see how long drivers are willing to push this stint just to make the second and third stints short and sharp.
Yeah, it's funny. You talk about, you think, 6 degrees isn't much, but as a driver and as those Dunlops, you'd take it straight away, because we were seeing temperatures into the 50s. So they'll be happy about that as this race goes on. But we all know that these tyres are probably well past their use-by date now as we approach on lap 19. So they'll be looking forward to that pit stop and putting on a new set of fresh Dunlops and seeing how the rest of this plays out. Two trips down pit lane that they're going to have to do. So, still plenty of options as far as looking after those cars and going the distance with these tyres, but they'll be your best friends on these hot days if you can look after them.
Yeah, they will indeed. Look here, these two are still stuck together, Sam, man. Dylan O'Shea leading Luke Rosella. Feels like these two have been unable to be separated since we last checked in on them, as they run as they were for good measure. So they go O'Shea defensive a bit towards Ascari. They have started to catch back up with the pack ahead, although Griffin, 1.1 seconds from O'Shea to Griffin Garner, just on the cusp of getting some slipstream down these longer straights. Rosella is willing to cooperate to encourage taking the preferred racing line as far as he can around this circuit. That'll help them get back in position.
Again, rocking the green, white and red colours on that Doing OK Commodore. I reckon it looks the part. I touched on that before as far as just breaking it up a little bit from his teammates, and it's good to see some nice different liveries out there. So hats off to that team. He's going to make that move up the inside now. Got the job done fairly easy. I think he just rolled out of it and gave him the position. So Luke Rosella now getting the job done, and now he wants to tag in front of his teammates and get on to the back of that train as we get close to pit stops. It's going to be good timing for him.
Yeah, this is the crunch time. Get yourself in position so you can be where you need to be. Adam Briggs appears to have made a move. Jordan Ross is going backwards alternatively in the 143. Try and pick him up here to see something happened.
Slow down maybe?
Yeah, I've got something of that description on my screen, so I might go grab another one of our OG Gear replays to try and make sense of this one here for us. So it was in behind Marcelo Rivera. Has he taken too much of the curb? From that angle, I'd say no, but then when he rolls out there, you'd surely think that's a slowdown penalty, if anything.
I was going to say, from that angle, it looks like no, but when you moved hard right, or hard left, I should say, and just roll out of the throttle, yeah, you'd imagine that's exactly what happened. So, little kick in the guts, but you can still plenty of time to bounce back from that, and it's so easy to do, isn't it? You can just get that tiny little bit aggressive with the chicane, and unfortunately you get that penalty. But it's the same for everyone, and that's part of the skill of getting around this racetrack fast, because there's those chicanes. They're so crucial as far as carrying speed, but so easy to get a slowdown penalty.
Speaking of battles, they're going on elsewhere. Although, have we got drivers in the pits? We do. Yeah. Leaders are coming in now. At the end of lap 21, as I was just going to say, we've got this little pack here just outside the 20, now led by Zach Ratchway White, clearing Blake Warboys there into the final turn. All right, so Phil Sell, Rudd, Gilliam, O'Shea, Rivera, I believe I'm seeing are the 5 cars that were from the leading pack that have gone in. It has kept James Scott towards the front. And look at the gap that James Scott now has because of this gaggle of the Lobs esports cars that have sort of broken this little pack up.
Yeah, I'm curious if that was by design, whether he wanted to go that 1 lap longer or whether he meant to go with his teammates and didn't quite get the job done. Might not have been clear as far as getting down the lane. That's interesting because you would have thought that they probably may have all pitted together. But look, he may have been in the position where he's like, you know what, I can afford to go 1 lap longer. I might just do that so we don't have that bottleneck into pit lane. But you can see just how quickly that the cars behind him in Ethan Griggolt now just slowly starting to tag onto the back of James Scott, just as he's got that little bit of draft that'll assist him. And you'd imagine that James Scott will possibly be down pit lane this time round.
As you said, it's a little unusual to see drivers off sequence with their teammates at a draft-heavy track like this. And so whether this changes the way they'll do things here, we'll have to see. And also whether the drivers here like Griggolt, Kuznetsov down, Gardner's just off the back of the group there as well, whether they also respond and what gains there might be on fresh tyres for those drivers who come into the pits. Jared Filsell, he's out as the first of the cars to have pitted. But look at the margin he's also... Now, oddly enough, this is not due to pit stop time. I'll bring it up here and we can compare to Andrew Gilliam behind him. You can see there, actually slower through the pit lane on the whole, as Gilliam will hustle his way past Kurt Stenberg, and in fact so will Dylan Rudd. You can see there, Dylan Rudd's stop was long, 27.6 seconds compared to Gilliam at 26, Filsell at 26.3. Also, a good 15 odd cars are currently in the pit lane, as you can see on the timing tower. So it's now just a couple of drivers who were running in the mid and back of the pack who have sprung up to the lead for now as we wait to see who comes out first. The answer is going to be Job Stewart, but have a look at this pit stop time.
Yeah, they weren't in their box very long, were they? So they've opted for a little bit of strategy in this part of the race. So it's going to be swings and roundabouts. It's as far as, you know, getting that early track position and whether they can benefit from the later on, because they know they're going to be in the lane a lot longer when they come down next time round.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. 9-10 seconds, depending on how aggressive Job is now in this phase of the race when it comes to leading this pack. Because the big thing is, obviously, when you've got this deficit, well, I guess you could press on, but then everyone who can latch on will just then get more fuel saving if you set the tempo at 100%. And the guys behind are able to save fuel in the process. So it's going to be interesting there. That's for sure. That's whether we can make it work.
It's an interesting run of strategy. Mate, if it works, it'll be good for him. But I guess he's now trying to think that if he's got that line of fuel load, is he able to try and maybe pull away? But yeah, if these teams behind him just get a sniff of that draft, that will make things a lot more difficult, because we've already seen how cruisy it is for these teams and drivers just to be in that draft train and just snake along and just let the laps reel away. So if you can't pull away from those teams behind you, you are going to get hurt a little bit later on when you have to take that extra 10 seconds or so of fuel for the next round of pit stops.
And there we go. Last couple of, well, not all of them still. Tom Freer, Zach Rattray White, Blake Warboys, Sean McNamara and Andre Youssef are going to be the holdouts at the very front of the field as we need to watch these guys run around here. Good to see here, Jordan Ross is right on the back. Pardon me, that is Jared Filsell. We want to see Jordan Ross right there, sticking it to the 94, but then rolls out at the final part of the front straight there. Will they jump on the anchors for the opening chicane? Yeah, is that there for the engine being, well, running it on the red line all the way down the gear, Sam, man. No big surprises there, though. They'll use all the engine braking they can get.
That's it. If you can make it just that little bit easier on yourself, then yeah, go for it. But you can see, I guess, it's not really. I'm just saying, Jared Filsell, that gap is still opening up to the cars in front, and that's what they want to see. They don't want to see Filsell get to the back of them, but you know, for the moment, they're just seeing how that plays out. But those few seconds of margin, the difference between them with Filsell and Wayne Burke, yeah, that's obviously going to play out quite differently. But it's actually nice. I love it when teams roll the dice because you just never know how these races play out. You know, we said there could be the chance of a safety car, although it's fairly slim. You just never know how this all might happen. So I love it when teams roll the dice, try something different instead of everyone doing the exact same strategy. So good on them for rolling the dice.
And just noticing in sim, another update. We mentioned Tyson Broad had retired from the race, it seems, early on, but can also now add Jake Maloney to the drivers who have, it seems, retired from the session. So we will not see the number 29 at this stage out once again tonight. So that's a bit of a blow there to season results at this stage, as there's now just one driver left to pit in the form of Zach Rattray White for Vermilion Esports. And you can see he's only 22 seconds ahead of Jared Filsell. And mind you, when you make it Job Stewart that we compared to as the driver who actually leads those who have pit, it's less than 20 seconds. So he's going to have his work out for him in the second stint. And actually bring up the last couple of laps as well. Comparison, you can see there, 1.4 second gain on fresh tyres whilst Job had gotten back underway there.
Yeah, he's pretty much a sitting duck, and he knows it too. You know, obviously, you know that when there's drivers out there behind you that have got that fresh rubber, the advantage is huge. So he's running his tank's empty. He's going to try a little bit of a different strategy. Again, he's all by himself, so that's going to hurt him a little bit too. So not just that tyre disadvantage, he's got that aero disadvantage as well. So, but rolling the dice, and I like to see it. So good on him.
See here, well, that's down not too far behind Andrew Gilliam, but arguably this is a 4-car pack of its own in this race now, with in behind Dylan Rudd on that long opening. Well, actually not that long. In fact, Madison down slightly longer than Dylan Rudd. So Dylan to drop from what was fighting right at the front of the train to he's mired outside the. He's currently 13th, will be 12th once this all cycles out. That's interesting there. We missed something with the way they came into the pits, it seems.
Well, that's it. And there's so many things that come into the equation too. Your pit entry, how much speed you carry in, you know, how your outlap is, that it affects anyone else around you too. So it's so easy to give up just a tiny little bit of a margin, you know, whether you overshoot your box and you have to pull reverse and you might lose that tiny bit of time. So all that adds up. So there's been a little bit of a shake-up, but it's all swings and roundabouts a little bit at the moment. As you see the ADA just getting on the power. And you see that thing just moving around as he tries to get the power down. That was quite cool, but you don't want to do that too many times around here because you'll start to give up the life on those rears.
Just in behind there, we've got Tom Freer looking at Marcelo Rivera. And the door's open, so he'll take it at the first apex. And, yep, he's able to run in just enough there that Rivera's got no ability to counter that one on the exit of the opening chicane. And he will happily lead on from there.
Action plenty still back here. And this is what we say week in, week out too. It's not always the action and the good racing is up front. It's down the back. These guys are battling for late 20s positions, so 25th, 26th, 27th. So really good to see that they're all having a red hot go. A couple of drivers are not happy. You can see the flash of the lights there. That's usually our way of just letting the drivers know that they're probably not too impressed with how that position change may have played out. So, you know, tempers are rising a little bit, and one of the key things too in sim racing too is keeping your cool. I mean, we saw, I guess, a little bit of Max Verstappen just losing his cool over the weekend in Formula One, and you know, if you can keep a cool head, regardless of how your night's playing out, you can definitely benefit from it. You don't benefit much from getting cranky and getting annoyed about how the race is playing out or how people are racing you.
Yeah, not at all indeed. There's watching these guys here work their way down the field. Zach Rachel White will finally take to the pit lane in the number 17. So we'll see if he pops up. Might be somewhere around these guys maybe. We'll have to see how long he used to fill the car for. The answer is only 16 seconds. So he does similar to Job Stewart and Wayne Burke up the front of the field, who went short on the fuel. And as a result, he has popped out here on the track, which is 22nd place to be precise. All right, looking around here to see the battle. As I said, it's actually a big battle train now, practically from Damien Johnson here, 24th. I'd argue it goes all the way back to Luke Mitchinson in 31st. He's just there, coming into shot as the leaders at the front of the group. They round the second. Lesmo, he was coming out of the first. And so he will press on, try and stick with them here on the run to Ascari. And behind him, you've actually got a three-car fight that's established itself. Sean McNamara, Freddie Baldwin and Brian Borg here running in there. And then similarly, almost, another three-car fight here in Andre Youssef, Tony Antich and Tom Freeman. From there, we have our drivers who unfortunately have had some issues in this race, it seems. Long pit stop for Forzano Nabi has put him well down the order. 58 seconds in his box is indicative of a penalty of some kind on the way in. Michael Wine just in behind. Early stop did not work for the Fishy 025, it seems. And Kurt Stenberg, fortunately, after being spun and then a bit of contact back, has ended up in a world of his own, unfortunately, down in 40th place.
It's a little bit disheartening, isn't it, when you're a driver and you're out there and you're just all by your lonesome and you know there's still, quite a few laps for these guys to reel off. But, you always want someone to race around you. But, it can be a little bit lonely in these races sometimes for some of those drivers.
Yeah, it will indeed. Watching back up the front again as the train reforms. In fact, I should note behind Wayne Burke now, apologies. We looking elsewhere around the race. We didn't quite catch that one there, so look at that one here real quick. Fairly straightforward, it seems. And in fact, actually, it was a double overtake from Wayne Burke to get the race lead. So let's go to the OG Gear replay to have a look at this one here. So, and it's a double overtake down through turn one. And I guess this is one of the places where it makes probably the most sense he got it done. But from third to first in a single braking zone. So we'll look to see here. Okay, so yeah, big lifts coming from Job Stewart. And if anything, it just opens the door way open for him up the inside as a result.
You would take that as a race driver, won't you? Just when a couple of drivers there, just feathering the throttle, saving a bit of fuel, and he's like, yep, you beauty. Thanks very much, guys. Up the inside, P1.
That's many drivers in this pack are a little vulnerable. Ethan Grigalt now, 2 by 2, they work their way through. So he's got Phil Sell getting through there, what was around the outside in the end. You've also got Jordan Ross. Juki's Adam Briggs, trouble for the 72.
Oh, I wonder if he's had a detour across that chicane.
He's called something in, all right.
He's getting back up to speed by the looks of it. Let's go to the original Game of Gear replay. And it's that dart in here, heavy under brakes. Looks okay so far.
Big check.
Oh, he's got a tag from behind. Oh, he's lit it up though. Got the car pointed around, going the right way, but unfortunately, it's like, was that Gilliam? Was it that just tagged back Briggs? Yeah. So, yeah, it's, again, that'll be something for the stewards to look at, but that's exactly what happened. Just unfortunately got tagged in the rear.
That he did. And that's going to make that one a little bit difficult. Back in 17th place now in this second pack rather than on the tail of the lead pack. And it's trimmed the lead pack down to 8 cars once again because Gilliam having to stack up was the first car that couldn't get through. So now he's got a lot of work to do, and with a penalty likely sitting over his head to boot as well there, Sandman.
It's interesting at this point of the race too, whether you go down that the drivers' names down the side, and if you look for your favourite driver and they may not be in the position that you want them, there's still a lot to play out as far as different strategies. So there's going to be people in there that are going to be in the lane for a lot longer than others, and that will definitely shake things up as we get to the closing laps of this race. And there's some damage to that number 1 of Madison down the left front by the looks of it. So it looks like he's carrying a little bit of battle damage too, so that's not ideal. We talked about how much that can impact these cars just on the nose, and you can see that guard is definitely pushed in. So not ideal, but for the moment, if he can just stay on the back of Dylan Rudd, that aero draft will be helping him. And it's when he's in clear air, that's when it's going to make things really difficult for him.
Let's see. Yeah, same damage on Dylan Rudd's left front corner as well, Sam, man. So a few of them in moments like that. Interestingly, Gilliam is the car that did get into Briggs, and was also sort of, there's a bit of double contact almost with the way they came together. He appears to have gotten away a little bit lightly off that one in comparison. So we'll see if that works out for him later on in this race.
I think thankfully the one thing that these guys have got going for them is that that damage model has had a little bit of a tweak for these cars, and are now across all platforms now the new damage model. Whereas, you know, back in the day, if you had damage like that to the front, you know, it was a massively noticeable difference. So it's not as bad now, but ideally, you know, you want to keep those fenders as straight as you can. Aeros are important, especially around here. So, but thankfully it didn't happen like it could have, you know, many years ago. It could have a huge impact on some of these cars' straight line speed.
This is the back of the second queue, or train, I should say. Griffin Garner, he's looking at, he's looking at Josh Anderson, but no moves coming, it seems, there at the front of the field, though. Jared Filso is looking to get a march on. He's arrived, cleared Grid Gold, and he will now look to clear Job Stewart, although traction on the outside, which becomes the inside for the Curva Grande, might be in Stewart's favour there, and he's clear.
Yeah, that inside run's helped him, but Jared will be keen to get the job done. He's going to make him go to the outside as we head into the first part of the chicane. Jared's just going to tuck in behind. They don't want to do anything silly, especially the way Jared's at the moment. He's in a big advantage over Wayne Burke and Job Stewart at the moment as far as pit stop strategy. So he just needs to keep his car clear. He can pick these guys off fairly soon. Then he won't have to worry about them. But there is going to be that big difference come pit stops. So for the moment, he's being aggressively patient. I think that's the best way to go, and keep the front of that car clean.
It's a nice way to put it, Sam, man, I have to say. Even if it does sound a little counterintuitive on the face of it, and by a dictionary definition as well. So it's another little 3-car battle. If they're not giant packs of 8 to 10 cars or more, they come in threes, it seems, tonight at this point in the race. Jake Burton is just starting to street clear of Jake O'Reilly and Zach Ratchrow White, it appears. We'll see if that's a case of once you're looking at the last lap around, pretty even between them. In fact, it was Ratchrow White the faster of the 3 on the last lap that they completed, which would be lap 29. They're about to finish lap 30. And back to the front, I think we should go, because here we go. SSR boys going to try and lock out Filso, or is this Stewart going back to the lead to relieve Wayne Burke of pack leading duties?
Oh, you can see him just battling, trying to get the power down there. They're wiggling around a little bit, but you can see, look, Filso now right up, tucked in behind him. Will look to go, it looks like the outside this part, but it'll be the inside for the chicane. I don't know that he'll hold him up too much. Wayne Burke's just going to give him that little bit of real estate. He knows there's no point just fighting Jared at the moment. He's better off just chucking him behind, and that's exactly what he's done. So Jared now P2 overall, and he'll be looking now, his eyes now focused on Job Stewart.
Yeah, the race comes back to him in the middle stint, let alone when the fuel advantage should show its hand in the final stint. Which you might want to even though he's got fuel advantage, right on board with him down to Ascari here for a second, Sam, man. Let's just see, is there any saving at all going on here for the 94 machine, or is he going to keep in it? A little bit of save, but not much.
I think he's benefited from that. Obviously saved a bit in that first run too. So that's obviously where that's going to benefit him too. So now he might make the most of the draft here. I don't think he'll be too aggressive and dive up the inside here. But here we are, lap 31 of 48, and he's finding himself in quite a good position, tucked right up behind. So just applying that pressure, and that's half the battle. If you can just put that pressure to the guy in front, regardless of whether you want to make that move this lap or not, it's good to get the driver in front just looking in his rearview mirror, because if you can distract him, make that little mistake, it makes your job so much easier. He's going to dive up the inside. He's carrying that speed. He's not worried about fuel for the moment, and he'll get the job done up the inside, gets the pass on Job Stewart, and moves into P1.
All right, we're coming up on 15 laps to go. Right now, it is 17 to go, actually, when they cross the line, to be precise. So, speaking of which, Andrew Gilliam pulls out of the head of the second pack. And I didn't catch this one earlier, but Race Control indeed got their decision out as to what is going on with the race. Or what with Andrew Gilliam, I should say, pardon me.
Slow down. A slowdown for Philsell. I think he just caught a little bit too much curb there, and he's had to serve a slowdown penalty. So he's only dropped one position.
Still got one.
Almost.
Still got one, Sam, and he hasn't cleared it yet through Lesmo 2 here.
Oh, wow. So you're going to see he's going to have to breathe the throttle here. Oh, and he's just making it difficult for Ethan Grigol. And you can see that's exactly what he's doing, rolling out of the throttle. You've got to give up that margin, so that's going to cost him. But because these cars are bunched up, he's lost a handful of positions. Not ideal, but the last thing he needs is to serve that penalty down pit lane. You don't want that, so the best thing for him to do is clear that straight away.
Yeah, we've seen one person, it appears, get a slowdown penalty, and that was Jake Maloney. Well, got a penalty from not clearing a slowdown, I should say. That was Jake Maloney. And that seemed to really put his night in a world of hurt, to the point where he chose, retired partway through the race. As more cars peeling off to the pit lane, that there, Jordan Ross in the 143 going to hit the lane. As it's on for the lead again, this time Ethan Grigol will have go for a piece of the pie.
Works out good for Ethan, doesn't it? You know, he saw Jared just, he did all the hard work, got up to the front, and unfortunately now finds himself back in P5. So now Ethan Grigol can he can work with what he's got. He knows that he's not far away from making that second round of pit stops, but a nice little bit of clear air on the front of that Logitech G Commodore, and that's what he'll be thinking about now, not having to worry about who he's battling. But I'll tell you what, Job hasn't given up, has he? He's still right there, but a big difference. By the time these drivers all head down pit lane, it's going to be quite a lengthy stop for Job Stewart. But plenty to play out. Lap 33 of 48.
Yeah, it is. Still 15 and a half laps to go. And there's been a bit of drama at the back at the field for Teo Sorono. Ooh. He's just called it into race control. And, well, if indeed someone else was involved, I get the feeling, I hope he's calling it in because someone else is involved. We'll go to the OG gear replay once again. Sandman, it's Matt Bowler in behind in the number 12.
Little contact there on exit. Oh, the crossover there didn't clear him. Oh, kept the foot in it, and unfortunately that turned Teo around. So that's always tricky on exit too, isn't it? You know, you got to worry about that overlap, and I think unfortunately that might be a penalty coming his way.
I mean, yeah, we'll have to see. Very much a self-inflicting incident as more cars peeling off at the front. I think that was Job Stewart. So the SSR cars now, apart from Wayne Burke, it seems, who's the exception to that statement, because we had J. Ross pull in. I saw Hobbo from the second pack pull in. And now Job Stewart will go to the lane to try and get that stop done. And Zach Ratcho-White, after going ultra long in the opening stint, does he's actually done only 10 laps, not even, in the middle stint. He will now come in for his second and final stop with 15 to go.
Interesting, but nevertheless, that's his strategy. 15 laps to go. Now they bolt on those new set of tyres and go running to the end. And I guess the biggest delay is for a lot of these teams is the amount of fuel that they need to take on board, obviously, to make the distance. these guys will have that playing in the back of their mind. As we check out the top 5, Ethan Grigg-Galt over James Scott, Rick Kozestoff, Jared Filsell and Wayne Burke. It's starting to get tasty, isn't it, as far as, you know, who has what to deal with come pit stop time.
Yeah, I just can't quite say. I'm expecting around a 10-second delta with some of these guys. Most of them here, though, are fairly even. Wayne Burke right now is the exception to the rule amongst the top 6. And he owes everyone, well, he owes anywhere from 4 seconds to Brady Myers versus 10 seconds to Phil Sell and James Scott. So, should see him, unfortunately for him, a fair ways down the order, relatively speaking.
Yes, and now the big question falls to these teams is when they're going to actually dart into pit lane. Do they see some more drama back here? Long way off into the gravel track. Taliacic, was he involved?
I think so.
Andrew Youssef, he was a long way off into the gravel. So we might have to go to our original Game of Gear replay and see if we can see what happened there. As Filsell now moved into 3rd, so a little bit of a shuffle. Looks like someone's darted down to pit lane. There's a couple of cars.
Several.
James Scott, Blake Burke, Brady Myers, they're all in pit lane as we go to the original Game of Gear replay. Andre Youssef, everything seems to be in control for the moment. Oh, it's a big hit from behind. So massive hit. So, yep, unfortunately, I think Mr. Taliacic will be... oh, look at that little contact. Yeah, he'll be having a little bit of a discussion with the stewards, I think, or they'll be having a discussion with him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and doesn't get much more open and shut than that, unfortunately for him. Holy, as we said, that's a doozy. If ever there was one. So, drivers who have come out at the front of those who have pit twice. It's going to be James Scott, but look who's right behind him at the moment. Yeah. Madison Down is there and still in the game. So, he's been quiet tonight, I'd say, Madison. But as always, and given the number 1 on that card, do not count out your 2023 Logitech Pro Invitational Series champion, it seems, at this stage of the race.
He's always there or thereabouts, and he's almost like a serial pest. You can't shake him. He's always there, regardless of whether his night's going to plan or not. So never rule him out. And yes, he's still there. And you know, we saw in the first round of pit stops, it was James Scott that actually went long. So now he's decided to come in early, and I'm just curious now to see when the rest of these teams decide to fire into pit lane. It shouldn't be too far away.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. And there you go, 14 to go. Here comes everyone so far.
Oh, not too wide into the lane. Oh, that's tricky. You've got that tyre barrier you could see on pit entrance, and we saw someone already hit that in qualifying, but they managed to get through there. But it's a busy, busy pit lane. Have a look at it.
All right, Dylan Rudd with the front pit stall versus James Scott out on track. 16 seconds stationary for James Scott, I will remind you, as he comes around. Looking here at Dylan Rudd, 11, 12. I think the undercut's going to work nicely here.
Yeah, have a look at this.
I think
down too.
Rudd's on the roll. So he's going to come out here, but there's Scott in behind. No, sorry, Rudd's way back. It's Phil Sell out early. Of course it's Phil Sell out early.
So very interesting the way this is played out. So James Scott now our leader over Madison Down, Jared Filsell in P3, Ethan Grigg-Galt 4th, Griffin Gardner in 5th. So there's a little bit of moving and shaking, and that's what we talked. You touched on it. That little bit of a gain and that undercut with that fresh tyres, that's worked out nicely.
As Ian Ford on his lap 35 has had a moment at Ascari apparently. I'm just going to see if I can pick anything up there, and I can't see it amongst anything else. Oh, cheat. I think I've got something here for us, perhaps, if we take another look down the OG Gear replay. See what's come... No, pardon me, that is not it. Apparently that was going not far enough back, although it might be a case of... Yeah, I can't see it. We'll have to leave that one behind for now, it seems, and didn't flag. Even though it was something out of Ascari apparently for the 115 from ERT.
Now check out the pressure that Madison Down's under. You can see Jared Fieldcell right there. So he'd be pretty keen to get the job done on Madison. And we touched on that Madison's got that little bit of nose damage too. So that might make things just a tiny bit easier for Jared to get the job done. But what he's focused on now is he can see his teammate in James Scott just that little bit further up from Madison. So he wants to get the pass done on Madison just so he can tag onto his teammate and then battle him for the win as we cross the line. And it's going to be 12 laps to go.
Just seeing in session, another penalty has been issued.
Fieldcell.
Fieldcell indeed. Inside is open, and looks like for Madison Down, no major defense offered. He'd rather keep the momentum going. He's now got 2 Lobs Esports cars he can follow around here and hopefully keep in close proximity.
Well, the stats on the side say it, don't they, for Madison Down? You can see up 7 positions from where he started. So for him, if he can bring home a podium position, I think he'll be quite happy with that. Obviously, you know, again, carrying that little bit of damage, but if he can just stay in touch here with Fieldcell and Scott, I don't think he'd be too disappointed with the way his race has played out so far. So another slowdown. So that's Jared Fieldcell.
And Madison Down too. Down's also got one.
Yeah.
There, cleared now at Lesmo 1.
I wasn't sure if Madison just got caught up from being the check-up from Jared Fieldcell, but it turns out that he might have got that as well. So that's now changed things. Ethan Grigalt now moves into P2, gets gifted a couple of spots. But look at James Scott, 1.7 seconds up the road now from Ethan Grigalt. So, and now you can see Fieldcell now trying to get that job back on Madison Down. Yes, he will. We've touched on how crucial it is to get through these chicanes, these slow-down penalties. They've been a real kick in the guts for some of these drivers. So we're at a point where Fieldcell was challenging for the lead. Now he's battling back here for third.
And Madison Down's going to be right underneath the rear wing of the 94 into the Parabolica. Biggest problem for Madison, in my opinion, he's got Fieldcell ahead plus James Scott if they can get back up there. And he's got Griffin Gardner and Dylan Rudd and Luke Rosella lined up 1, 2, 3. Although it looks like Luke a little bit further back there. And the run through Parabolica not too great for the number 1, it seems, as they head down towards the first chicane. But he will cover it off from Griffin. Prevents the move being done easily there. In the background, it's Rick Kuznetsov, apologies. Trying to fend off from or get past Job Stewart, and he'll get the job done for 8th place.
Isn't it amazing that that one little penalty can just turn this race on its head a little bit? Now Jared's got his work cut out because he's 2.2 seconds away from the leader, regardless of whether it's his teammate or not. His teammate's not going to slow down and give him the win. He's going to have to go and earn it. So he's got some margin to make up, but now it's just putting that behind him. Now don't worry about that penalty. Just put it behind you, push on, and try not to let it happen again, because still 11 laps to go. And these chicanes, they're showing that they're not going to make life easy for these drivers. You've really got to earn it to get through there fast and clean.
Further on back in the pack, position gained by Matthew Bowler, up to 27th on Damien Johnson at first chicane. Ian Ford and Taro Sorono dueling it out for 36th. And just seeing here, that close is, well, speaking of action, there's action at the front. Griffin Gardner is through to 3rd place. 4th place on Madison Down. Can he set off after Fieldcell and Grigalt and then Scott?
I think Down's going to be in trouble. He might lose another spot here. That's the 990 of Dylan Rudd. Gets up the inside. Oh, but now he's got his hands full with Rosella as well. So this is shaping up to be an amazing race for the Lobs team. The 55 trying to get the move done up the inside of Madison Down. Madison trying to make it a little bit difficult for his teammate. You can see there, Dylan Rudd just trying to give that draft to Luke Rosella. Madison Down was all over that. Look at these guys trying to battle. Madison's going to try and go around the outside. No way, they want to go through wide. Oh, it's going to get close. Oh, has he gone in too deep? He's run wide. That might cost him a slowdown penalty. 3 wide on exit out of the chicane.
Somehow it hasn't. How has that not got the penalty? He'll lose 2 spots, which I guess in a sense is penalty, but minor miracle gets away with losing only the spots and the time on track momentarily. Down, trying to pressure Rosella, goes to the outside and gets checked up as a result. And Rudd will get the crisscross as a result, and you've got Kuznetsov coming through as well.
Oh, Madison now losing more spots here. He just started to slide down. He's in P2 not that long ago. Unfortunately, got caught up with that with Jared Filsell, got that penalty as well. And now he finds himself slipping back to 8th and possibly in 10th after this.
Job Stewart going to commit to pushing Dylan O'Shea through to maintain his momentum. And it looks like, yeah, it's going to be from 5th place at the start of this lap back to 10th for Madison Down. Yeah, haven't seen too many freight trains like that, but that do beat how Monza rolls sometimes, it seems, and someone has to be on the short stick, end of the stick.
He's not given up yet. He's going to try and make a move up the inside. It was not long ago I said he'd be happy with the podium. He was up 7 places from where he'd started, and now unfortunately battling just to stay inside the top 10 now. So got his work cut out for him as we cross the line. 10 laps to go, 9 laps to go now as they cross. But man, have a look at these Lobs cars up there, taking it to Ethan Grigalt. Now Ethan Grigalt now 0.2 of a second behind our race leader and James Scott.
Yeah, while all the action's happening down the order, yeah, as you said, you cannot ignore what's happening here at the front. Grigalt catches up to Scott, but he also brings Filsell with him. Less than a second covering your top 3. There's less than 9 to go as they round the Curva Grande.
I'm desperate to see how this is going to play out. 9 laps to go. So many more chances. There's probably 18 odd chances for these guys to still cop penalties through these chicanes. So it's never over just yet. Oh, a little bit of nose to tail there to the back of that TTR Commodore of Madison Down. Job Stewart just letting him know he's there. They're all having a red hot go. But how fortunes can change for Madison Down. P2 there not long ago and now struggling to stay inside the top 10.
Yeah, that damage appears to be a little bit more consequential than it would appear if you take in just simply how minimal it seems. And so as a result, that's definitely not helping. His cases there, as we'll also note, plenty of action elsewhere. Andrew Gilliam having, I believe, served his penalty. He's now got Adam Briggs directly on the gearbox. Back in 15th and 16th at this stage. You've also got drivers, again, Synergy well represented here. We've got Wayne Burke a little bit ahead in 14th. You've got Tom Freer and Brenton Hobson, 18th and 19th. 18th for the 88, I should note, in all of that there as well. Just also watching it, we've got a very compressed battle, it seems, here, starting with Hayden Velt, but the real compression is around Robbie Gibbs. He's looking to catch up to Scott Gamble. And these guys, they're fighting over 24th, if we count Veld at the front of the train.
I absolutely love that, regardless of where they are. This is not for, a battle of the podium to get the gold, the silver or the bronze. These guys are just giving it everything they can, regardless of what position in. It's always great racing throughout the field.
That it is. So watch them rip down. Start finish straight here for a second. And Gibbs will pull to the inside of Gamble. Can he get 25th here at the first chicane? He can, and he'll be able to slide in front as well and secure that spot. Yeah, pretty neat and tiny there indeed.
Oh, have a look at this battle for first, second, third. Ethan Grigalt, he's in a lob sandwich here at the moment. I know he wants to get the job done on James Scott, but the pressure from behind from Jared Filsell now. Not long ago, it was 2.2 seconds that Filsell had. It's now 0.3 of a second covering the top 3. Nothing in it for these guys with 8 laps to go, or 7.5 laps to go.
The draft does its job here, it seems, tonight from Monza, and keeps everyone packed up close and tight. Well, as you see here, fuel saving with 7 and change to go, Sam, man. Do you reckon that's because Filsell has to? Or because Filsell's just in a rhythm that has been involving fuel saving pretty much all race long?
Well, I think he knew he was at that part of the racetrack. He wasn't going to make a move on Ethan Grigalt. So, but see this now, it's a battle for the front. Ethan Grigalt, contact down the front straight away, almost 3 wide.
They biff and they barge, and thankfully it's only a bit of fender rubbing that comes out as, I think, trouble for Luke Rosella, perhaps, in the 55, dropping down the order. Yeah, he's had a moment through the opening chicane as well. Sees him drop, I think, from 6th back to 11th. Could be more if the Oh, Stewart around! Oh, the car stalled. He's trying to get it going, has he? Oh, get that going in the middle of the track. Thankfully, is rolling when the next 2 cars arrive at the Retrophilia chicane. Right, well, we've got some OG gear replays now to go look at, but to the lead.
Dwayne, now they've made contact. That's given him a shove, James Scott. But now Ethan Griggold, he's trying to get better of it. I think he's trying to give the position back, but that's given Jared Filsell now moved into P2. This has brought Griffin Gardner into the fold too. It's going to be a 4-way battle as we come to the line with 6 laps to go. These guys are not giving an inch.
Gardner around the outside of Griggold and Filsell. Can he hold it? Long way around the parabolica. Okay, Griggold, he's going to get boxed in by his own teammate as they come down the start-finish straight. Will he bump straight into the back bumper? You bet he will. And push the Lobs train in full express mode on the outside towards turn number 1. Filsell's going to come over. He has to cover for Griggold.
Oh, Griggold now, the meat and the sandwich. He's going to try. He's going to be on the outside now of Jared Filsell. Need to give each other some room on exit. He's going to get the job done. Moves into P2. Jared Filsell back to 3rd.
Oh, man, this is getting feisty, but it's the good kind of feisty that we like to see here, that's for sure. And it means James Scott, though, checks out to a 2nd once again. These guys are going to have to, well, obviously, with Griggold, I wonder if he's willing to play spoiler or whether it's the Lobs guys who might be willing to play spoiler for themselves to enable James to have happy days at the front of the field. I just want to go back real quick to a pair of OG gear replays from lap 42, starting with Luke Rosella heading into the first chicane. As all of a sudden, he was right up behind that there being Dylan Rudd. So he pops out from behind, O'Shea alongside. Oh, he tries to run him off, does he? Or run him wide? And as a result, actually gets escorted a little wide himself by the looks of things. And then we might just stay right with this one here because it was up at the 2nd chicane. For Job Stewart, it came unstuck for the Synergy Sim Racing 35.
Doesn't take much, does it? Unfortunately, now it's sent him a long way back.
Was it contact from one of these guys behind? Rivera's in there.
Yeah. Just a tag in that left rear, or heavy damage with or heavy contact with the guardrail too. So lucky that thing's still tracking straight.
All right, Sandman, 5 to go.
Where do you want to be? Do you want to be James Scott? Do you want to see Ethan Griggold behind you? But they're battling now. Look at Jared Filsell. He's trying to get the job done on Ethan Griggold. But, nice little dive up the inside. Thinks better of it. Smart driving by those guys, just going single file through there. We've seen how difficult it can be through that chicane. You don't want to get a penalty, especially when we're getting towards the last end of the race with 5 laps to go. These guys need every little bit of real estate they can get, and if you cop yourself a penalty, it can be race over for you. So these guys being very smart, and it won't be too long before Jared's on the back of Ethan Griggold again, trying to have another red-hot go.
Trouble in the first chicane, this time for Wayne Burke in the Synergy Sim Racing 89. So much so that apparently it counts as a crash. Try to grab this one for us here. Pardon me, that's grabbed the wrong one there. Let's grab this one here. So under brakes, heading down in towards, and Gillian comes in a little hot, but he's there. Oh, does Berkey try to?
Oh, it's what we saw earlier. The people just not given that little bit of real estate on exit and that crossover. Unfortunately, the overlap has fired him into the fence.
That it has. As back to live pitches will go. Top 4 approaching half a second as they come up the gap from first to second, that is, I should say, into the final turn. 4 laps go. Madison down, losing a spot. Further on back, Rosella picks him off for 8th place in all of this. This driver's trying to, and what that does, I've thrown it up once or twice in this race. There's a bit of a gap between him, technically speaking, Sandman, but O'Shea and Rosella. The number of times they've not been in this particular order, I think I might be able to count on one hand tonight. That they've been running in this particular position. It's relative to each other. It seems quite a bit tonight.
Put yourself on the racetrack, mate. Do you want to be in James Scott's shoes? Do you want to be in Greg Galt's? Do you want to be in Phil Sell? It's tricky, isn't it? Because we know how crucial that draft can be, but geez, I think I want to be up front, and I think I want to be able to defend and maybe put your car in the right position. But he knows that threat is growing. It's Ethan Greg Galt, Jared Filsell, and Griffin Gardner not too far away. But if these guys start to squabble, that'll bring the others back into the fold too, and that's the last thing that they want to see. That little bit of extra pressure coming into the end of this race, that's not what they want. They want to battle this out as clean and clear as they can. But ideally, Scott would love to open up that margin from Greg Galt, but he's not able to.
Yeah, if it was me, I wouldn't want to. I think it's hard. I don't know who I'd want to be, apart from saying I probably wouldn't want to be Ethan, just only because he's literally trying to fight off. Well, at the moment, 2 drives. Griffin Gardner's just dropped back a bunch on this particular lap, but you've got 2 drivers who are presumably in communication with each other right now, and can therefore coordinate attack and defense on either end of your car. Which is going to make life just a little bit difficult there in the grand scheme of things. Also a critical point that was brought up, looking at Ethan's stop time for the second stop at least, he has, remember, a time penalty for his spin and contact. I'll talk about that later because he threatens James Scott into the first chicane with 3 to go. Well, actually, it's important to the race. Ethan Greg Galt has a 10-second post-race time penalty hanging over his head.
Oh.
Well, it'll be post-race because he hasn't served it at a pit stop, I don't think, because otherwise he would have dropped down the order from that qualifying incident that basically ended the session for so many drivers with its timing. So I wonder if this means they're going to consider the protest avenues on that one there. But it does mean that basically then becomes a James Scott versus Jared Filsell race if the penalty is unsuccessful or the protest is unsuccessful.
Yeah, I've almost forgotten about that. So yeah, unfortunately he does have that hanging over his head, and yeah, well, I don't know, it's broken my heart a little bit because it's quite the battle. The top 3 here just giving as much as they can, but yeah, there's nothing in it. Greg Galt really earning it, trying to get the job done, but Filsell now in contention. Oh, look, more contact side by side. He's going to have a crack around the outside.
These guys, yeah, they don't know when to, well, I would say don't know when to rein it in. They're giving it almost their all without resorting to incidents that are ending races as Filsell and Greg Galt switching back and forth. But Greg Galt outside of Scott on the run to Parabolica. Can the number 7 stick it? He's on the outside. Scott hangs him up a little bit high as well.
Filsell, watch. Oh, he's going to try and dive to the inside and get the inside. And his teammate, James Scott's going to give him that draft. So that'll benefit. These guys will try to go nose to tail, bump each other. They want to try and clear Ethan Greg Galt before the chicane.
As we make the run, Greg Galt, though, is able to stay in front of Filsell. And he's got overlap. Can't stick it around the outside of Scott, though. He'll have to park it up and reset again.
Geez, he did a good job just to pull that up and get through there nice and clean, because you can see just how hungry Filsell is. He's trying to get past. He's trying to get the job done. He's tucked in there. He's got that little bit of a run. Ethan Greg Galt's going to be wake up to him. He knows that if he's going to pass him, he's going to have to make him go around the outside, and that's what Filsell thinks about. Doesn't do it. They prefer to go single file, but getting very racy with 2 laps to go.
Speaking of penalties, Sandman, a couple have come in late from towards the end of this race from race control. No surprises, though, that from Marcelo Rivera, he'll be picking up a time penalty for the contact with Job Stewart back on lap 42 at the second chicane. Can also note Brian Borg also issued a penalty for contact with Andre Youssef, which would be further down the order, also on lap 42. As your top 3 into Ascari. Griffin Garner is on the fringes. If there's a bad lap for any of these guys at the top 3,
Ooh.
Ascari Galt will leave nothing on the table when it comes to the track, and then some.
Geez, I wonder how much. Oh, you can see Ethan Grigalt now trying to get around the inside. I wondered how much James Scott was going to try and be a little bit of a cork.
Oh, he's got the crossover.
Oh, he's going to go to the inside, get the job done. It's power down. But what Phil Sell's going to do is going to tag onto the back of his teammate and try and push him past, because obviously Ethan Grigalt doesn't have a draft there. That's exactly what he's doing. Not getting an inch. The final lap into the chicane. Side by side, Ethan Grigalt, James Scott. Ethan Grigalt gets the move up the inside. Oh, contact. He's gone round. That's sideways. Race over. Unbelievable for Ethan Grigalt. Contact with James Scott.
Oh, there's several cars have had issues in the final chicane. Madison down around. I think Dylan O'Shea possibly of some a car. No, not a car off in the near Curva Grande, but Madison down, drops outside the top 10 after he'd been trying to hang on to a position or two late in the race. This now might even be Jared Filsell's race that he inherits at the end of this all. Can he?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there could be a penalty coming for James Scott with that contact. Half a lap to go. Jared Filsell tucked up behind his teammate. This has been an absolute cracker race. These Lobs guys have put on a show up front. A very strong following for these guys as far as the amount of cars they've got inside the top 10. But at the moment, James Scott leads over Jared Filsell.
I think I heard a tiny bit of fuel saving as well still into Ascari. I get the feeling there's nothing left in these tanks if they can afford it. Yep. James Scott is still having to save on the very last lap, but so is Filsell. They've run these things as bare as they can. And so at the line, it'll be James Scott, but a question mark remains. Will he hold the race result, or will it go to Jared Filsell in behind? As they cross the checkered flag, it is Lobs 1, 2, 3, 4 over the line. Ethan Grigalt ends up there in 5th position, leading home Marcelo Rivera at the line. Don't forget time penalties, though, for the 21. It has been confirmed from the stewards, at least. And, man, Monza delivers. But going to be a dramatic way to end that one off tonight.
Yeah, an absolute crack of a race. Hard luck for Ethan Grigalt. That contact, I mean, it started with the penalty at the start. These guys aren't giving an inch. It's a race to the flag. These guys side by side, Gibbs and Veld, they're battling out for 23rd and 24th. And these guys as well. Back further, 25th and 26th, it's Bowler and Freeman. They're all having a red-hot go. They don't care what position it's for. It's a drag race to the finish line. But what I was going to say is that I don't know, that penalty that Ethan Grigg picked up in qualifying, I don't know about that. I think he was just doing his absolute best to get out of the way. And, and then to get that contact in the last lap in that chicane with James Scott. Yeah, his night just unfortunately went from bad to worse. But, man, oh, man, what an absolutely unbelievable race. And
if ever there was proof they were tight on fuel, 3 of the Lobs cars pull it up on Curva Grande and we'll roll home. Man, yeah. Just, I think, so I just want to have a look because there were a few incidents there towards the end of the race. One we didn't get a chance to see was involving Madison Down. I'm told the incident was actually contact with Josh Anderson, unfortunately. So teammates getting entangled. So we saw the Grid Golden, so we'll leave that one for now. Probably don't want to play that one to death here tonight. Oh, how's this though when it comes up on screen, Sandman?
Oh dear. Oh no. Have a look at what is going on here. 3-4 wide. Oh, they check up. Oh, yeah. Oh, that might have been a little bit of net code too, I think, unfortunately. But, yeah, contact between teammates. Oh, and then it gets tight on exit here. Have a look at these guys.
How only one driver has come out the loser of all this?
Well, it's not over yet. They're still having a red on go.
Yeah, it's almost like just let it play out and see what happens.
Oh, it's side by side. That's incredible. And their TTR teammates there, they're battling. Oh, not quite. I think they all managed to get through the rest of the lap unscathed. But man, oh man, that's good hard racing.
I think finally, yeah, that one, can say, ends that one there tonight. As with the racing over, Sandman, for now, at least going to talk about our provisional race results from this 7th round of Logitech Pro Invitational for 2024. And yeah, less than 0.2 of a second in it across the line, less than a second for the top 3. And Dylan Rudd making it 4 in a row for the Duino Cable Ops esports drivers over the line. With Ethan Grigault there, going to be the first car from outside the team coming home across the line in 5th. Rosella gets up to P6 at the end of it all there as well. And then looking here, Kuznetsov unfortunately dropping back a little bit to 7th place. Brady Myers, solid run, actually gets from 16th to 8th tonight on the road. Dylan O'Shea going a little bit backwards as well, unfortunately, for the 9.5 drivers to 9th. Josh Anderson up 12 places to finish in 10th there.
Incredible race, wasn't it? We had a little bit of everything throughout that 48 laps. Strong showing from the Lobs, doing okay, guys. To have 5 cars in the top 10, pretty impressive. But man, it had a bit of everything. And again, I say it all the time. I never want to be a steward, but they're going to be busy in the steward's box for a little while after this one because there was plenty to play out in those closing laps.
And the other thing that obviously, yeah, is pretty crazy. We had 278 kilometers of racing over 48 laps, no safety cars whatsoever. And you look at these margins, have to go back to 32nd place to fall a minute outside the lead, the leading time there, and 39 cars finishing on the lead lap. It looks like Teo Sorono going to finish, but a lap down. Your 2 retirements tonight, Jake Maloney and Tyson Broad there to wrap up the end of the provisional results. But, well, and there's even penalties that we didn't even get a chance to properly look through tonight. Just looking at the information we did receive from Race Control. Mike Taliancic got a penalty for that contact with Andre Yusuf. Actually, we did cover that one there. I think I flashed up Brian Ball contact with Andre Yusuf. Scott Gamble, that 43 incident with Damien Johnson, got given a 5-second time penalty as well for the 5.43 machine. But yeah, Sandman, it looks like that's going to be about it in terms of results for now. We're just waiting on drivers to join us for post-race interviews. In the meantime, what we might want to do is quickly start looking forward to what comes next in the season. And as you said a little bit earlier on at the start of all of this here tonight, it's the end of solo driver racing for a little bit. And it's time to welcome in the endurance part of the calendar. And we head to Brazil, and Interlagos will be the host of our first endurance races. As a result, we switched to a Friday evening on the 9th of August for that one there. But this is going to be a track. I haven't seen a ton of endurance racing around this circuit. So this is going to be one that I'll be curious to watch out for. Not expecting to be busy, and might get a chance to sit down and spectate a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah. I've seen sprint races, haven't seen an enduro around here, but yeah, this is a good racetrack, and it's got a little bit of everything. And of course, when you talk about driver pairings and lineups, you know, there's some interesting driver pairings coming into enduro season. I don't know that all of them have been announced, but there are a couple of raised eyebrows for myself. I won't give too much away, but I've heard a couple of whispers for some driver pairings, and it's I think it's going to make for a pretty exciting enduro series. Should be good.
Yeah, it will. Interlagos kicking it off, and then we head to Sandown and Bathurst as the staple Australian circuits that we'll go to there as well. One thing actually I probably also want to pull up, as provisional as it is, here's how the points are sitting after that one there. And thanks to coming home second across the road versus 4th across the road, it looks like it's going to be Jared Filsell who jumps up to the championship lead. If I remember right, it was Dylan Rudd leading us on the way in here tonight. But we have been joined by some of our drivers here, Sandman. So it is going to be time to start talking to them, with Griffin Garner joining us here first. And Griffin, that was one, well, it ended up being a bit of almost a crazy race, you could say, towards the end of that one there. how was that from your perspective, given you seem to be able to put yourself in a position to sit back a little bit and sort of just watch it happen there tonight?
Yeah, I played it pretty conservative in the first stint. And then the first stop, I actually went past my box and dropped probably 3 or 4 seconds and then put in an extra 25 litres of fuel that I wanted to. So my strategy was out the window at the first stop, but fought back in the middle stint and come out in a pretty good spot there at the end.
Well, that's good to hear that one there. I mean, yeah, obviously, also a bit of ebb and flows. One point I thought maybe if the top 3 in front of you ended up being an orderly race, that might have not been a chance for you there. But then you came back in and then, well, unfortunately, had the fireworks there on that final lap at the first chicane. Might put things in jeopardy as to exactly how the result is going to be. But makes a P3 for you. Is that sort of a help with sort of, I guess, being confident getting ready for Enduros in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, for sure. My championship's I'm not anywhere near contention, so for me it's just about trying to get results and improve this year. I'm excited for Enduros. I've got a really good co-driver, so hopefully we should be able to chase a couple more podiums in the next few weeks.
Well, yeah, indeed. Reasonably new team shift for you. It's not the first time out now at this point. But yeah, second half of the season, getting underway here tonight. And I guess, will there be any sort of particular targets at this stage, or just see what comes on a race-by-race basis?
I think realistically I should be finishing easily in the top 10 in the championship, but where I'm at, I'm just taking it race by race and just trying to improve for the rest of the year, and hopefully next year we'll come out swinging and have a good crack.
Well, floor's all yours. Griffin, who do you want to thank for helping you get it done tonight in the number 93 machine?
First, just a big thanks to the whole crew at Lobs. It's been great. The move, it's really worked out, and I'm loving working with the whole team. So big thanks to everyone there. Doing okay. Our major sponsor, Ryco Motorsports, and Brett and the team at HRS as well.
Oh, there we are. Griffin Garner, third here tonight at this stage. Sam, man, thank you for joining us for that chat there. We'll hope now have Jared Filsell join us here in the booth, and I'll hand to you, Sam, man, to chat to the man behind the wheel of the 94.
Jared, congratulations at the moment. P2, still maybe a little bit that could play out in the steward's office after this. But, mate, tell us a bit about your night. It was certainly interesting from the commentary box, up and down throughout a couple of positions in the front, and getting a couple of slowdown penalties. That made your life interesting tonight.
Yeah, that was quite frustrating, to be honest. You don't plan on having to serve the slowdowns, and them having been tweaked, so you can't actually serve them efficiently anymore. So you've got to really serve the penalty, which sucks, but that's racing. So no, it was a cool race. Just super hard to break the draft here. I thought we might have had a chance to, but it's just way too competitive this year to even think about that. So you just got to think about the end game and see where you end up at the end of the race.
You did your fair share of moving around, getting the job done. You said, it's tricky to pass here, but you did okay, and a good job by the whole team and the whole doing okay mob, because we have 5 in the top 6 out of that team. So impressive run for the team tonight.
Yeah, it was awesome. Unfortunately for Andrew, he got caught up in an incident in the earlier portion of the race. So arguably it could have been top 6 positions filled by all Lobs doing okay cars, which is pretty cool. So we'll strive to fill the top 6 positions in the next race, hopefully.
Yeah, we're not too far away. Speaking of the next race, it's Enduro time. Are you ready for that?
Not really. I'm looking forward to it, though. It should be good to team up with Brody. He's my co-driver for this year, so it's good lineup. Worked well together, so I'm hoping we can string together a nice, consistent Enduro campaign and see where we end up post that, and then start thinking about championship and whatnot towards the end of the season.
Speaking of championship, the way you are tonight, the way the points, obviously not everything's official at this stage, but you're currently now the championship leader, so that must feel pretty good. You've had your work cut out for you throughout the season, but you've made the charge up there, and currently P1 heading into Enduros. Yeah,
I feel like I've come from Narnia, to be honest. Not ideal starting the season off on 0. in spectacular fashion, I must add. But no, it's been interesting. All the other guys that are around us, like they're no slouch. Like they're not going to drop off magically and just disappear off the championship standings. Like they're actually up here and still fighting us and still within the top 10. So it's going to be interesting right through to the end, I'm pretty sure.
Well, a cracking race tonight, mate. Well done. Obviously, a little bit still to play out as far as the steward's office. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Brody and Shane for jumping on tonight. I know Shane jumps on every night or every morning for him at some ungodly hour. So give him a big rev up for getting up at 5:30 and having a coffee and whatnot and talking us through pretend race cars. It's pretty cool. And all the other guys at Lobs for doing majority of the setup work this week. I've had a bit of a downer, so I've had a bit of time off, and yeah, they've done a lot of setup work this week. So I'd like to give them a lot of credit for putting forward a lot of setups, something we can just take and go and be really competitive with. So thanks to those guys, as well as doing okay. It's awesome to have those guys on board. The cars look fantastic. And as well as Rocco Performance as well. Those guys, can't do it without them as well. And also HRS as well for their ongoing support for the team.
Well, congratulations, mate. No kidding that this is a team sport. That's what motor racing's all about. And your team did really well tonight, putting on a great show throughout the field. And a big shout out to Shane too for him to get up at those ungodly hours and help you guys out. I know all of us are pretty proud of what he's achieving over in the US. So keep up the great work, Shane. And yeah, you're lucky to have him on board. And it's a great team coming into the Enduros, Jared. So all the best, mate. It should be an absolute ripper.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, mate.
So there you go, Daniel. Jared Filsell, P2 for the Lobs team. They had an impressive showing tonight, and we'll hand you over now as you catch up with James Scott.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sam, man. And, well, unfortunately, James, this one's going to be at least a little bit unconfirmed for now. Actually, if you could, speaking of it in that case, give us maybe a quick take of what it looked like from behind the wheel from your perspective there at the end.
Yeah, no, obviously this track always produces some pretty exciting racing with how long the straights are and how powerful the draft is in this car. But yeah, no, I don't think there'll be anything sort of to worry about. All the guys have looked at it, and yeah, shouldn't be anything really to worry about. So should be all good.
I mean, well, yeah, talking about the race in general, you guys obviously been strong all season. No surprises, strong again here tonight. How valuable is it? I mean, a draft track, but also then having teammates be able to help sort of coordinate the pace at the front, and also even have someone rotate around a little bit there in the opening stages to sort of get someone in front, take the responsibility of leading the train a bit, so that you guys can then sort of switch around and make sure you get as much fuel saving done as you want. Yeah,
no, obviously the team's really working well together. We had a fair few cars at the front tonight, which was really awesome to see. And yeah, it allows you to play around with the strategies, sort of do what's best to help all the cars across the team, rather than just have sort of fighting a one-man train at the front and just destroying your fuel and tires while you're at it. So should be team's working really well, so no, we'll keep it up.
Now, speaking of the team, coming into the endurance season now with the next 3 races being our 500 and 1000k races, and looking forward to those ones there, and also with getting a co-driver on board to share the 088 for the next couple of races.
Yeah, Enduros, they're really awesome races. Plenty of strategy, and having that second driver in the car as well, which will really mix it up. We got a really good selection of co-drivers at the team at the moment. So yeah, really looking forward to who we'll be driving with, and we'll see what we can do.
Well, look forward to seeing that in that case. And after that, we'll then just have, I believe it's 2 rounds after that to finish off the season, to get back into the solo driver rhythm. And yeah, for you guys, it's been strong all season by the looks of things. Any particular goals for the back half of this season to finish things off in 2024?
No, nothing. just the usual, try and win as many races as we can, and yeah, see where we end up at the end.
Well, thanks, James. James, floor is yours. Who do you want to thank for helping you get it done in the 088?
Yep, thanks to all the guys at Lobs. Brody, a lot of setup work this week. It was awesome to have his knowledge floating around. Shane jumping on every round and helping us out with spotting and everything else. It's really awesome. Doing okay, Ryco Performance and HRS as well. Awesome to have those guys on board. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast and yeah, all the guys that helped put the series on.
Well, thank you very much, James, for chatting with us here to wrap things up tonight. Unfortunately, I can't say officially well done because whilst we've been talking, a decision has come through from Race Control and it's not in your favour. It will send you back to 5th place in behind Ethan Gridgold for the contact on the final lap and promote Jared to the race win at this time. But all the same, thanks for racing tonight and putting on a good fight, and hopefully see you out for the next couple of races at Bathurst, Sam. But yeah, there you go. That tips things a little bit there to end the night off and yeah, change things up in the closing stages.
Yeah, interesting night of racing, a lot happening, and a big thank you to everyone who tuned in tonight, and a big thanks for you sticking around. Unfortunately, we had a couple of little technical issues there. Daniel, thank you for stepping in. You played more than a commentator's role tonight, jumping in behind the scenes. Big thank you to you and Jay and everyone involved. We managed to get through tonight, but now it's Enduro season and it should be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, that it should indeed. A reminder, the next race will be on a Friday night, the 9th of August, and yeah, heading to Interlagos for that racing action there. So that'll be one to look out for in a couple of weeks' time, and yeah, see the co-drivers in action who can make the most of it as a result. And before we sign off, Sam, any closing thoughts from tonight before we start talking about what's to come? Yeah, with the remaining races.
I'm looking forward to it, mate. Always love Enduro season. It mixes things up because you're putting basically your championship in the hands of someone else that isn't a regular in the series. And it's a great rule. There's some interesting driver pairings, and I can't wait for those announcements coming in the next few weeks as we head to Interlagos. It's going to be an absolute ripper for round number 8. Enduro season is upon us, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, indeed it is. And yeah, just getting some last few things sorted out to wrap things up. So that's why I'm actually stalling for time there. Apologies. But yeah, look, as you said, thanks to Jay Kennedy for being here tonight. Unfortunately, not able to do his usual role in things, which is a bit of a shame. But nevertheless, look forward to having him back on for production for those Enduro races there. Yeah, my name's been Daniel Yeaman. It's been Stephen Sandman Clark here alongside me tonight, and look forward to having your presence at the Logitech Pro Invitational Endurance Races in 2024, starting with our racing action at Interlagos on Friday, the 9th of August. Until then, have a good time, stay safe, and we'll see you for that next one.
When I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing True Force was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
TrueForce is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. TrueForce force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The TrueForce algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and TrueForce enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a TrueForce wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. TrueForce is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. TrueForce benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day. Race against the clock at a hill climb. Or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.